Chapter 1559. Bang, bang, bang. All the jade talismans in the hands of a team leader suddenly exploded. Even the jade talisman of life of the master of Black Flag Hall was broken, which frightened the warriors of the Black Flag Hall nearby. The master and the two most powerful patriarchs were dead? What did that mean? It meant that the Black Flag Hall was doomed. That team leader still could not believe it. He checked the jade talisman of life over and over again. He was sure that it was his own jade talisman of life that had exploded and the strand of soul inside was gone. The team leader was pale with fright. He sent some of the best scouts to investigate and at the same time ordered a lockdown. Lu Li and Little White left. Little White was not satisfied, and Blood Fairy wanted to study the forbidden ground of Elder God in the Wei Di Mountain as well. But Lu Li knew that he could not stay here any longer. Otherwise, something could go wrong. He put away the Divine Mountain, but the dense fog formation was not broken. After concealing himself, he quietly left, easily sneaking away from the group of Black Flag Hall soldiers. Louis did not go too far. He wanted to stay here and wait for a while to see if things would get out of hand. He did not want to implicate the Swords Mountain. If he was here and found something wrong, he could find a chance to make up for it. He teleported to the Rising Sun City and found the Hall of Bloodblade. He told them to keep an eye on the surroundings. At the same time, he told the nearby forces about the death of the Master of Black Dragon. Then, he went to a small city and hid. Soon, the Black Flag Hall was in a turmoil. The death of the Master and the two mighty warriors in the divinity was confirmed. When the news came back, the Black Flag Hall was in a mess. The Master of Black Flag Hall had more than a dozen sons, but none of them were powerful. The most powerful one had 3 sons who barely made it to the list. The other patriarchs were not powerful either. None of them could control the situation. The Black Flag Hall had been developing well in recent years. They had taken over a large piece of land that used to belong to the Sword Sect. The mines and mountains of several nearby forces were all occupied by the Black Flag Hall. Now that the Black Flag Hall master was dead, the nearby forces would definitely not let the matter rest after receiving the news. They would probably join forces to attack the Black Flag Hall, snatch the territory occupied by the Black Flag Hall, and divide the wealth of the Black Flag Hall. Therefore, the Black Flag Palace's people didn't care how the Black Flag Palace Lord died, nor did they think about whether there was a great treasure in Mount Wei Di. They only thought about how to deal with the upcoming situation. When the Hall of Bloodblade quietly spread the news, the nearby factions became restless and sent out a large number of scouts. The people of Black Flag Hall panicked. The sons of Black Flag Hall's Hall Master had already begun to flee. These few were good-for-nothings who relied on their father's prestige to eat, drink, and have fun all day long, bullying the weak and small. Many people in Black Flag Hall were secretly dissatisfied with them. They knew that if they didn't escape, they wouldn't even know how they died. They might as well take the large amount of divine roots and escape to a faraway place. That way, they could continue living a comfortable and happy life. 10 days later, at the border between Sunrise Manor and Xianqing Manor, other than the Immortal Sword Sect, the remaining 5 forces sent out their troops at the same time. They sent out an army of 100,000 strong, including 3 almighty experts from the immortal world. They joined forces to attack the Black Flag Hall. When Luli learned that the 5 forces had made their moves, he settled down in a small town. The Black Flag Hall was doomed. The master of Black Flag Hall was on good terms with Lu Li and Patriarch Leper of the Craftsman's sect, but that was bullsh**. Lu Li was not qualified enough. Now that he was dead, he would have nothing to do with the Craftsman's sect. The Black Flag Hall was doomed. As Lu Li had expected, the Black Flag Hall was attacked by the 5 forces. Apart from the 2 patriarchs and the 3 sons of the master of Black Flag, most of the others were either killed or surrendered. The Black Flag Hall was officially doomed. Granted, the Black Flag Hall had the support of a major force, but the other forces all had their own backgrounds. The master of Black Flag Hall was killed. It was only a matter of time before the Black Flag Hall was destroyed. Naturally, the forces behind them would not show up. Lu Li's plan was a good one. There were many inhibition formations in the Wei Di Mountain. It was not surprising that the master of Black Flag Hall would die in there. As for the divine glare in there, Many people snorted when the news spread out. The weighty mountain had been in existence for so many years and had been turned upside down by many forces. What other treasures could there be? They were just illusions from the remnants of the inhibition formation of Elder God. The master of Black Flag Hall foolishly went to look for treasures and was killed by the inhibition formations. As a result, the Black Flag Hall was destroyed. Some forces were curious and sent someone to investigate. But apart from the thick fog, there was nothing in the mountain. There was no divine glare. The master of Black Flag Hall died an unjust death. More than half a month had passed. Emperor of Heaven Reverse came out from cultivation. The Swords Mountain was closed off as well. Emperor of Heaven Reverse came out in person. He fought with a leader of a force and took back a mountain that belonged to the Swords Mountain. Emperor of Heaven Reverse came out a good time. He had been closing off the mountain, making it clear that he had nothing to do with the death of the master of Black Flag Hall. Now that the territories were not divided up yet, he came out to fish in troubled waters. Emperor of Heaven Reverse had made some progress during the years he was in closed-door cultivation. According to the actual ranking, he would be ranked at least 10,000 or 20,000 on the list of divinity. Compared to the mighty warriors of the other forces, Emperor of Heaven Reverse's abilities were strong. Even though he did not attack the Black Flag Hall, he proposed to take back the territories occupied by the Black Flag Hall. In the end, the other forces gave in. The Black Flag Hall occupied many mines, enough for the 5 forces to divide up. What happened to the Black Flag Hall did not cause a sensation. Even in the Rising Sun Mansion and the Xin Qing Mansion, not many people talked about it. After all, the Black Flag Hall was just a small force. Their master went to the mountain of Wei Emperor to court death. Now, the Black Flag Hall was destroyed, which was not unusual. Lu Li stayed in the small town for 2 months. When he got confirmation from the Hall of Bloodblade, he set off again. This time, he went to the mountain of Wei Emperor. He planned to cultivate in the mountain of Wei Emperor for some time. He wanted to exhaust the warriors of the Craftsman sect. The Craftsman sect had hired several major families and assassin organizations, which required divine sources. Lu Li wanted to see if the Craftsman sect would hire those major families and assassin organizations to search for him for a few years. He chose the mountain of Wei Emperor to cultivate because there were many forbidden grounds of Elder God. Average warriors would not dare to enter. For another, Little White needed to eat red and green stones. For another, Blood Fairy could study the forbidden grounds of Elder God to improve her abilities in formations. Lu Li went to the Swords Mountain secretly without alerting anyone. He only met the Emperor of Heaven Reverse, had a conversation with him, and gave him a jade talisman. If the Swords Mountain was in danger, the Emperor of Heaven Reverse would crush the jade talisman and Lu Li would come as soon as possible. Then, Lu Li went to the depth of the mountain of Wei Emperor alone. This time, he went deep into the mountain. He walked for half a day, bypassing and breaking through many forbidden grounds of Elder God. He arrived at the foot of a green mountain with a lake. The view was beautiful. He left Little White on the mountain covered with red and green stones and built a one-time teleportation formation. If Little White encountered any danger, it could dash into the teleportation formation and be teleported here. Sure. We will stay here for 2 years. Chapter 1560. Elder Lao had been in a bad mood recently. He had taken over Elder Leopard's position. This was his first time presiding over a large-scale battle. He mobilized a few large clans with strong tracking abilities and mobilized a few assassin organizations. All the scouts of the Craftsman sect, most of the warriors of the Hall of Warfare, and so much manpower, resources, and money had been spent. However, after such a long time, there was no trace of Lu Li. In the past, he had mocked Elder Leopard, saying that Elder Leopard was incompetent. Now that he had taken over Elder Leopard's position, he seemed to be even more incompetent than Elder Leopard. He turned the Eastern Divinity upside down. Later, when he heard about the Hall of Relics, he mobilized a large number of warriors to the Southern Divinity. However, it was as if Lu Li had vanished from the human world. There was no trace of him. Actually, one couldn't blame the Craftsman sect for being useless. One couldn't blame those large clans for being too weak in tracking. Only supreme warriors in the divinity could tell that Lu Li was wearing a human skin mask. The divinity was a vast place with a large population. Not even a scout could find Lu Li when he passed by. Elder Kuei was overseeing the large southern city, Azure Dragon City. His hair had recently turned a little white, and although the Divine Craftsman sect master did not say anything, he knew that he was definitely very dissatisfied with him. Every day that passed was another day of humiliation for the Craftsman sect, and a massive amount of divine roots would be consumed. He could now understand Elder Leopard's feelings back then. Stop the chase and announce that it was yet another failure. If he didn't stop, there was no point in continuing like this. Instead, it would consume a large amount of divine origin. Although the Craftsman sect had plenty of divine origin, they couldn't just squander it like this, right? Rustle, 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 light footsteps could be heard as an old man dressed in black robes walked in. Elder Kuei raised his head, a look of anticipation on his face as he asked, "Is there news?" "No." The old man in the black robe bowed and said, "Elder Kuei, we can't go on like this. We are depleting too much divine source. Sect leader will definitely be angry when we get back." "How could I not know?" Patriarch Kwong waved his hand angrily and said, "If only we could get rid of Lu Li's blood. We could ask the Cabinet of Mystery to track him." "What do they do now?" "Lu Li's skill of hiding is amazing. When he hides, we cannot find him in the sea of people. Actually, this subordinate has an idea." The old man was silent for a moment, and then coldly said, "But this method is a bit vicious, so I didn't dare to say it." "Oh." Elder Kuei glanced at the black-robed old man. This person was a vice hall master of the battle hall. His code name was Poison Jackal, and his actions were rather sinister. Elder Kuei had always disliked him. At this moment, he had no other choice. He said irritably, "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't hesitate." "All right." The wolf said, "Since Lu Li does not want to show up, then we will force him out. We can capture all his friends in the divinity. For example, Jiang Rudin from Chamber of Relics, his old friend Qian Huanhan, Lu Shi, and Holy Princess. As far as I know, Lu Li is a man who values friendship. He will walk right into the trap when we are ready." "Fool!" Elder Kuei's face darkened, and he said angrily, "Do you have a pig brain? The artifact pavilion used to be one of our subforces. If we touch Jiang Ruodin, all the subforces will be bitterly disappointed. Qian Huanhan, you have no idea how powerful their family is. Lu Shi, and Holy Princess are both in the 72 sections. Don't you know who is behind them? What kind of ideas are you trying to come up with?" Du Xiang was not angry at being scolded. As a matter of fact, he was just testing Patriarch Kuei. Naturally, Du Xiang knew that he could not touch those people. He had told Patriarch Bao about this before, but Patriarch Bao scolded him harshly. "Ha ha," Du Xiang sneered. "Patriarch, you are right. I have not thought this through. If so, how about we send someone down to the mortal world? Capture Lu Li's family and friends? If we bring them to the divinity, Lu Li will come out and court death. Down to the mortal world?" Patriarch Kuei frowned. He was struggling. A moment later, he shook his head and said, "We should not bring trouble to the family. This will damage the reputation of our craftsman's sect. If our master learns about this, he will punish us severely." "No, we can do that. We can do that." The grin on Du Xiang's face grew wider. Patriarch Kuei seemed to be more flexible than Patriarch Bao. Du Xiang cupped his fists and said, "Patriarch, you are right. We must come up with a solution that will not damage the reputation of our craftsman's sect and kill Lu Li at the same time. In this world, the winner takes all. Only by winning can we be proud. Otherwise, the reputation of our craftsman's sect will be damaged." "That is a good point." Patriarch Kuei rubbed his forehead. "It is a pity that there are many things in the world that cannot be done at the same time. Everything has its pros and cons, right?" Du Xiang pretended to have an idea. His eyes glowed as he said, "Patriarch Kuei, I have an idea that will not affect our reputation." "Oh." Patriarch Kuei said, "Tell me about it." "Patriarch, Do you remember Luoyi? Du Xiang smiled a mysterious smile, but stopped here. Luoyi? Patriarch Kuei frowned. Naturally, he knew this person, the Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness. Because of helping Craftsman's sect track down Lu Li, the Dark Forest was slaughtered. The matter was blown up. Patriarch Kuei comforted Luoyi for a long time in person and gave him some treasures. Now that Du Xiang mentioned Luoyi, Patriarch Kuei came to his senses. He asked coldly, "Are you saying that we should ask Luoyi to go to the lower world and capture Lu Li's family? Then we will wait here and let Lu Li walk right into the trap?" "No." Du Xiang waved his hand. "Patriarch Kuei, don't misunderstand. We did not ask Luoyi to do this. Luoyi and Lu Li cannot live under the same sky. This is Luoyi's plan. He carried it out himself. It has nothing to do with us. Also, we are not the ones waiting here. It was Luoyi's plan. We just happened to get the news and went over to kill Lu Li." "I see." Patriarch Kuei's eyes glowed. He was delighted. After a while, he nodded and said, "Good, good. You are so cunning. This is a win-win solution. Luoyi and Lu Li hate each other. Everyone in the divinity knows about this. Luoyi capturing Lu Li's family has nothing to do with us. As long as we can kill Lu Li, the craftsman's sect will be saved. But when our master learns about this, he will be severely punished." Patriarch Kuei paced up and down in the hall. After some thoughts, he made up his mind. Waving his hand, he said, "Du Xiang, you are in charge of this. You must do a good job. Remember, keep the information confidential. Before Lu Li's family is captured, the information must not get out. Otherwise, not only will the plan fail, I will be punished." "Patriarch Kuei, don't worry." Du Xiang sneered. Cupping his fists, he said, "I promise that I will do this flawlessly. I will go and find Luoyi right now. I will help him come up with a plan. Everything else will be done by Luoyi. It has nothing to do with us." Chapter 1561. Master, there are many forbidden formations of Elder God here. I want to wander around and learn. When Blood Fairy arrived at the deepest part of the Mount Wei Emperor, she told Lu Li what to do and then left with the immortal's body. As a spiritual being, Blood Fairy could not stay outside for long. She could hide in the immortal's body and use the formations to nourish herself. The immortal's body had been repaired. Even though he was not at his prime, he could walk and defend himself. The Mount Wei Emperor was deserted. Lu Li gave Blood Fairy a jade talisman that the immortal's body would hold on to at all times. Once something happened, Lu Li would be able to sense it. Little White was in the Cyan and Red Mountain. Lu Li told Little White to dig a hole in the ground and go inside to eat. In this way, Little White would not be exposed. It would take at least a few years for Little White to finish eating the entire mountain. Lu Li and Qi Shi'er went to the lakeside to rest. The lake was not large, and there were not many fish and prawns in it. What was more, there were remnants of forbidden formations of Elder God nearby. If they were not removed, this place would be uninhabitable. Lu Li asked Blood Fairy to remove all the forbidden formations of Elder God and to build more inhibition formations nearby. He built a formation of illusion himself to avoid being discovered. He also set up some small restrictions everywhere. These restrictions were too simple and didn't pose any danger. Their only purpose was to give warnings. It took him 3 days to build all these. When they were done, Lu Li returned to the lakeside, satisfied. Qi Shi'er was sitting by the lakeside. Seeing Lu Li coming back, she smiled sweetly. "Brother, you're back. I want to eat grilled fish." "Okay." Lu Li could not say no to Qi Shi'er's request. He used psychic power to check and found a fat fish in the lake. He picked up a twig and threw it at random, killing the fish easily. He kicked on the ground and walked on the water. He grabbed the fish that floated up and went back. He found some firewood nearby and began to grill the fish. He had never forgotten his skill of grilling fish. After a while, the fish became golden and fragrant. Seeing Qi Shi'er, who was drooling, Lu Li put on a smile. He took out a piece of fish and handed it to her. She blew on it and began to enjoy it. "Brother, why aren't you eating?" Seeing that Lu Li kept giving her food, but he just sat on the side. Chi wiped the stains off her mouth and said with embarrassment, I haven't eaten for a long time. Luli shook his head and said, You eat. I'll just watch you eat. All right. Chi ate with a red face, sweating profusely. The way she ate was very elegant. Luli looked at the side of her beautiful face, which glowed faintly under the light of the setting sun. For a moment, he was a little dazed. Brother, why are you staring at me like that? At first, Chi was fine, but she couldn't stand Lu Li's stare. It was dusk when she was full. She went to the lakeside to take a bath. Then she looked at Lu Li shyly and said, Brother, I haven't had a bath for a long time, and I will help you set up a restriction. Lu Li smiled gently. He took out formation stones and built a simple inhibition formation by the lake. When it was done, he poured out divine energy. A blue shield appeared in the lake, covering an area with a radius of more than 100 feet. Lu Li said, Go, I will protect you. Thank you, brother. Chi smiled sweetly and flew into the shield. Soon, there came the sound of water splashing. Lu Li sat on the grass outside the cabin, gazing at the setting sun in the west. He was at peace. It was rare for him to have such a comfortable time. His tense mind finally had a moment of rest. He lay on the grass, listening to the sound of water. An image of a beautiful lady coming out of the bath came to his mind automatically. Soon, he shook his head to get rid of the evil thoughts in his mind. He closed his eyes, enjoying the cool night breeze. For a moment, he felt a bit tired. He thought it was safe here, so he decided to take a nap. In a daze, Lu Li suddenly heard a scream of terror. He opened his eyes and rushed into the lake without hesitation. What is it, Xia? As he rushed into the shield, a person came and jumped into his arms. Chi yelled, Brother, there are snakes in the lake. Lu Li rolled his eyes. Chi was a mighty warrior in the divinity after all. How could she be afraid of regular snakes? In the future, he would have to take Chi out to practice more. Something is wrong. Lu Li suddenly came back to his senses. He realized the girl in his arms was naked and her hair was still wet. He looked down out of instinct. What he saw could make any man lose his mind. At that moment, Lu Li felt his blood rushing to his head and he was burning with desire. Chi seemed to have realized she was naked. She yelled and lowered her head. Her face was burning and her body was trembling. She didn't know what to do. But Chi didn't let go of Lu Li. Maybe it was because of the snakes in the water or because she was nervous, but she hugged Lu Li tighter. Cough, cough. Lu Li forced himself not to look at Chi beautiful body. He turned his head away and said, Sure, I have killed the snake. You can let go of me now. Put on your clothes first. No. Chi shook her head. Suddenly, she gathered up her courage, looked up at Lu Li and said shyly, Brother, take me. I want to be your woman. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. It had been years since he had made love with a girl. Inevitably, he would have some thoughts. If he didn't have any physiological reaction to a naked woman in his arms, and a beautiful woman at that, then he wouldn't be a normal man. Gurgle, gurgle, Lu Li couldn't help but swallow. He closed his eyes and said, Sure, don't be impulsive. Before he could finish his words, two soft, red lips touched his. A fragrance entered his nose. Lu Li felt he was struck by lightning. With a bang in his head, he lost his mind. Chi had no experience in kissing, so she was clumsy. Out of instinct, Lu Li began to guide her. Their tongues tangled together. Involuntarily, Lu Li put one hand on Chi slim waist and the other on her breasts. Chi body softened, and her expression became intoxicated and filled with satisfaction. She murmured softly, Big brother, I want to be your woman. Big brother, I want let be a happy woman. Lu Li's eyes were red and his breaths were short. He was like a beast in heat. He stared at Chi beautiful face and said, Shier, don't you regret it? No. Chi nodded with determination. She smiled shyly and happily and said, Brother, let me be the happiest woman tonight. I have been waiting for this day for too long. Whoosh! Lu Li flew out of the water with Chi in his arms. He put a quilt on the ground and laid Chi, who was shyly closing her eyes, on the ground. He untied his robe, looked at her face for a moment, and said, "Okay, sure, after tonight, you will be my woman." The night was alluring, and the scenery by the lake was even more alluring. With intermittent moans, a girl had become a real woman. Chapter 1562. The lake was rippling. By the lakeside, a girl was combing her hair. She changed her usual hairstyle into a crescent hairstyle for married women. The girl looked at the glowing face in the water and felt shy. She would look at the man sitting in the cabin every now and then. Her eyes were filled with happiness and love. It was a long night. Chi had turned from a girl to a woman. She had enjoyed the beauty of being a woman. When love reaches a certain point, it must be water, milk, intercourse for the feelings to sublimate. You have me in you. I have you in me. Only then can it be considered as a true union. It was only after last night that Chi truly felt like she had become Lu Li's woman. Their hearts could be said to be completely together. Her heart also became exceptionally calm. Even if she were to die here at this moment, she would be satisfied. Lu Li didn't regret it. What was done was done. He really liked Chi. This girl, with many beautiful qualities in the world, deserved the love and protection of all men. Chi was too reliant on him. Just as had said she might die if she left him. He was a soft-hearted person when it came to women. He could actually predict the final outcome. Looking at Chi, who was washing up by the lake, looking at her rosy white skin and glowing face, his heart was filled with softness and peace. In this strange god realm, he and Chi could be said to depend on each other. They could give each other a trace of warmth and comfort. Only by supporting each other could they go further. Brother, Chi finished and floated over like a butterfly. She sat in front of Lu Li and snuggled into his arms. She was still shy. She didn't dare to look at Lu Li. She followed his gaze. Lu Li held Chi in his arms and stroked her smooth back with one hand. He smelled the light fragrance coming from her and felt the cool morning breeze. At this moment, his heart became exceptionally tranquil and contented. It was a strange feeling. It was as if the world had stopped. Nothing moved, but his mind was clear. It was as if he had entered an ethereal state. But he wasn't in a trance state. He didn't cultivate. He just felt quiet and peaceful. He felt his mind was flexible. After a while, Lu Li felt something was wrong. This state was too strange. In this state, he felt closer to the world. It was as if the world had become clearer, more transparent, and more real. Lu Li wouldn't miss out on such a good state. He closed his eyes and tried to feel it. He realized this state was more powerful and wonderful than the ethereal state. Luckily, Chi didn't do anything. She fell asleep in Lu Li's arms. Otherwise, if she moved or talked to Lu Li, it was very likely that Lu Li would break out of this state. Although Chi's body could take it, she was still mentally exhausted. She fell asleep as soon as she sat down. Lu Li tried to feel this state. He wanted to be closer to this world. He could feel the wind, the earth, the ground, the sky, the water. At this moment, he felt the elements in heaven and earth were clearer and closer. He was closer to nature. He even felt like he was part of the world. He was like a gust of wind, like a stone in the earth, like a drop of water in the lake, like a tree next to him, like a beam of light in the sky. He felt he had disappeared in front of the cabin and become a part of the world. He was the world, and the world was him. It was a wonderful feeling. He was almost lost in it. Calm down, calm down. Lu Li forced himself to calm down. He couldn't lose himself completely. He had to try to understand this wonderful state and control it. In this way, he could enter this state at any time in the future. He had a feeling that this state might be the advancement of the ethereal state. His mentality just now had successfully advanced him to the ethereal state. He had entered a more mysterious state. He began to feel carefully and quickly. He used his heart to sense all the changes around him. He repeated the process and perfected his guesses. Time moved on. 6 hours later, Chi woke up. As soon as she moved, Luli was startled out of that state. Alas, Luli felt it was a pity. If he had more time, he would be able to master that state and enter it at any time. He didn't know what that state would bring him, but he felt that if he could cultivate in that state for a long time, he would be able to learn the laws in heaven and earth quickly. "What is it, brother?" Chishire heard Luli sigh and looked up. Luli smiled gently. He kissed Chishire on her forehead and said, "Nothing. Do you want something to eat? I will go and grill some fish." Okay, Chishire's eyes glowed. She was still young and could not resist the temptation of good food. Luli scanned with psychic power and found a fish, lobsters, and crabs in the lake. He flew over and soon he brought back a fish, some prawns, and a crab the size of a basin. Wow! Chishire had never eaten these before, and she shouted in surprise. Even though she was a woman now, she was no different from an innocent girl. Her personality was similar to Bai Xiaoshuang's, but Bai Xiaoshuang was less stubborn, while Chishire was pure and innocent. Luli ate some himself. It was the first time for Chishire to eat crab roe. She felt she had opened a door to a whole new world. She couldn't stop praising it. After that, Luli held Chishire's hand and walked by the lake. As they walked, he tried to enter that strange state again. His mind became empty. He believed that as long as he could enter that strange state again, he could understand it. They went round after round. Chishire didn't say anything. As long as Luli was with her, she would feel happy and at ease. As Luli walked on, he suddenly closed his eyes, but he was still moving forward. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli suddenly stopped and let go of Chishire's hand. He didn't say anything, nor did he do anything. He just stood quietly by the lake with his eyes closed. Chishire looked at Luli in surprise. Suddenly, she felt Luli was different now. He was still a human, but there was something else in him that she could not explain. She felt Luli was not a human anymore. He was like a rock by the lake, a tree at the foot of the mountain, a drop of water in the lake. Chishire felt Luli had disappeared from this world. To be exact, Luli seemed to have become one with the world. Chapter 1563. What a miraculous state! Luli stood by the lake for 3 days and 3 nights before he opened his eyes. He exclaimed with mixed feelings. He had completely mastered this state. This should be the evolution of the transcendent state. He had been through too many things, and his state of mind had changed. That moment of coincidence had allowed him to relax and enter this state, the transcendent state. This state is more powerful than the others. Let's call it the cryptic state. Luli gave this state a name. It was so mysterious that he could not explain it in words. It was so mysterious that Luli named it the cryptic state. In the cryptic state, Luli felt he had blended into the surrounding world. He felt he had completely blended in. He was the world, and the world was him. If anyone wanted to assassinate him in this state, not even supreme warriors in the divinity, Luli would be able to sense it immediately. Since he had blended in with the world, no change in heaven and earth could escape his senses. In the old days, he was sensitive to space, and he could judge by the abnormality of space. But now, he could judge by everything around him. He could even sense an enemy flying over in the form of a grain of sand. Apart from being sensitive to space, Luli also found that in the cryptic state, he could learn the laws of heaven and earth faster. Just like in the small world under the dragon vein of Mount Kunlun, the laws of space were very clear, so he could learn it quickly. He studied space twist in there. Of course, Luli had deduced all this himself. He had to try to find out if it was true or not. All in all, it was pointless if this state could not help him improve his abilities. "Brother," a weak voice came. Luli looked back and saw Chishire was scared. She grabbed Luli and asked, "What happened to you? Why did I feel like you disappeared? You were so unreal, like you were a stone." "Ha ha ha." Luli laughed. He hugged Chishire and said, "I just learned a strange state. I just blended in with heaven and earth. Don't worry, I will stay with you." "Okay," Chishire smiled sweetly. She took Luli's hand and walked back to the cabin. Back in the cabin, Chishire said with embarrassment, "Brother, I am hungry. Ha ha ha. Qi bashful and honest look made him very happy. He got up and busied himself. He roasted some fish and prawns for Qi. After eating with her, the two of them walked back into the wooden hut. Luli was in a good mood after learning a miraculous state. He stopped cultivating at night and went to bed with Qi. It was Qi first time as a married woman and was very curious and moved by the things between a man and a woman. Although she didn't take the initiative to ask for it, her body was a little soft and hot as she slept next to Luli. Luli could feel Qi's eyelashes trembling and her pretty face blushing. When a beauty fell in love, this was the most beautiful scene in the world. It could make any man's heart ripple. Luli was a normal man. He had been suppressing his emotions, but now that he had let it go, he didn't care too much. She mounted the horse, and the atmosphere in the room gradually became charming. 10 days. Luli didn't cultivate. He spent 10 days with Qi. They wandered around, roasted fish, swam, wandered, and at night they made love. Qi felt these 10 days were the happiest of her life. It was the first time a young girl had fallen in love. She had always dreamed of being accepted by Luli. Now that they were in love, nothing in the world could make her happier. 10 days later, Luli began closed-door cultivation. He sat by the lake and entered the state of cryptic spirituality to study the sword mark. He had been studying this move for a long time. He had made some progress on the other 3 fundamental principles, but to integrate them completely, it would take a long time. Luli built a spirit-gathering formation nearby so that he and Qi could cultivate divine energy faster. He also gave Qi many soul-nurturing pellets, which he got from several mighty warriors in the divinity. They were the best of the best. Qi sat next to Luli to cultivate. She knew that Luli's enemies were powerful. She hoped that she could improve herself so that she could help Luli instead of being a burden. She was talented. She could become a mighty warrior in the divinity at such a young age. She was no less talented than many talents on the list of talents in the divinity. Her mind was pure and untainted by the mortal world. She was more in tune with nature and could learn laws in nature faster. Blood Fairy came back once. She was studying the forbidden formations of Elder God not far away. There were many remaining forbidden formations of Elder God here, enough for Blood Fairy to study for a long time. Little White was also very comfortable recently. It drilled into the mountain and was surrounded by cyan redstone. It was extremely happy and prepared to cultivate in seclusion here until it finished eating all the cyan redstone. Luli cultivated in peace in the Mount Wei Emperor. He had no idea that someone was plotting against him. At the southernmost part of the divinity, there was a famous mountain called Cloud Mountain of the South Sea. Recently, a small force in the mountain was wiped out. Over 20,000 people, young and old, male and female, were all killed. All the heads were piled up into a mountain. A note was left behind. Anyone that dares to provoke me, Luli, will be killed without mercy. The entire southern divinity was shaken. Following that, the entire divinity was in turmoil. Once again, Luli's cruelty shocked the world. This time, he did not even spare the old and the children. Luli's reputation as the god of slaughter was solidified. Patriarch Huang was enraged. He led Patriarch Leopard, Patriarch Neo, and many warriors to the southernmost part of the divinity. Patriarch Huang swore that he would kill Luli or else he would resign from the Master of the Craftsman's sect and quit his position as a Patriarch of the Hall Combat. At the southernmost part of the divinity, Patriarch Huang mobilized many warriors and prefecture warriors to search for Luli all over the world. There was news that Luli had shown up at the southern divinity and was almost captured on several occasions. Luli was at the Mount Wei Emperor. That small force at the southernmost part of the divinity was not killed by him. As a matter of fact, it was Poison Centipede who secretly killed that small force for 3 reasons. First, to frame Luli and incur public anger. Second, to see if Luli could be enraged so that he would come out. Third, to prove that Patriarch Huang and the others were at the southern divinity recently so that they could avoid arousing suspicion. Lord Luo Yi, I am counting on you and my brothers. In a mountain outside a huge city, Poison Centipede bid farewell to Luo Yi and two other patriarchs of the Hall of Darkness. Luo Yi waved his hand. Brother Poison Centipede, don't say that. I have a blood feud with Lu Li. If I don't kill him, I will not be able to stay in the divinity for the rest of my life. But when this is done, I hope you will not forget your promise, Brother Poison Centipede. Don't worry. Poison Centipede waved his hand. You know, Patriarch Kwong, when Lu Li is dead, we will take care of the rebuilding of the Hall of Darkness. Sure. A glint of killing intent rose in Luo Ye's eyes. He waved his hand. Let's go to the lower universe and capture Lu Li's family and friends. Let's kill every living being in the universe that Lu Li is in. Charge! Chapter 1564. Luo Yi went into the city with the two patriarchs and went directly to the space-time office. The easiest way to go down to the mortal world was the space-time office, which was the safest place. This city was where the headquarters of the space-time office was located. Luo Yi and the two patriarchs entered a huge castle and were received by a hall master of the space-time office in person. Luo Yi was the master of one of the 72 sections. The Shrine of Darkness was destroyed, but Luo Yi was still alive and could rebuild it at any time. What was more, Luo Yi was a supreme warrior in the divinity. Such a powerful warrior deserved to be received by a hall master of the space-time office. Master Luo wants to go down to the mortal world. The hall master of space-time office was surprised to learn of Luo Ye's intention. Then he said with a frown, Master Luo, you are a supreme warrior in the divinity. I don't think it is appropriate for you to go down to the mortal world. What is inappropriate about it? Luo Yi had never been down to the mortal world. Given his high status, he would not ask about such trifles in person. He said impatiently, just tell me how much divine sources you want. I want to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. It is not about the divine sources. Luo Yi misunderstood. The Hall Master said with a bitter smile, you don't know much about small universes. The mortal world is small and the space is unstable. Unless it's a formidable martial artist from the divine world who came from this mortal domain, other formidable martial artists would easily cause the domain to collapse if they entered. You should know the consequences, then. Collapse of a universe. Luo Yi and the two super mighty warriors in the divinity were taken aback. The twisting force of space when a universe collapsed would be horrifying. Even Luo Yi would be strangled to death. What was more, if a universe collapsed, who knew if the laws of heaven and earth would bite back? After all, it was against the laws of heaven and earth. We cannot go down to the mortal world. Luo Yi blinked and pulled a long face. He had just reached an agreement with Du Cheng. How could he not go to the mortal world now? It is not that you cannot go down to the mortal world. You can go to the purgatory of primordial chaos, but you cannot go to the mortal world. The Hall Master of Space-Time Office looked at Luo Yi and said, you want to get back at Lu Li, right? Go to the purgatory of primordial chaos and try to control the mortals in other universes. Call all the powerful warriors of the mortal world to the Earth Imperial Universe. You can capture all of Lu Li's families and bring them to the purgatory of primordial chaos. Good idea. Luo Ye's eyes lit up. If they went to the mortal world, with his and the two elders' strength, there would be countless mortals pledging allegiance to them. At that time, wouldn't it be convenient for him to do whatever he wanted? Wouldn't it be a piece of cake to capture Lu Li's family and friends with the help of warriors from several universes? All right, let's do this. Send us to the primal chaos purgatory. Luo Yi waved his hand, and a super mighty existence from the divine world beside him asked, how many divine roots do we need to teleport to the primal chaos purgatory? Because the three of you are experts, it's more troublesome to teleport, and the divine materials required are more expensive. The Hall Master sighed for a moment and said, Sect Patriarch Luo is a famous expert. We will give you a 20% discount. The three of you can teleport down and pay 30 billion divine roots together. 30? 30 billion? Luo Ye's eyes widened. He had heard that the lower realm was very expensive, but he didn't expect it to be so outrageously expensive. The three of them were only going to the lower domain, and they needed 30 billion divine roots? Why didn't the space-time office rob them? Luo Yi was not in a position to say anything. One of the patriarchs frowned and said, Hall Master Chung, you know that the Dark Forest is under attack. It is too much for us to take so many divine roots. We don't have a choice. The Hall Master said firmly, the space-time office has its own rules, and we cannot violate them. How about you send fewer people? Or you can buy a map of the space turbulence and fly there through the space turbulence. That's cheaper. Turbulence in a void? The two patriarchs were frightened. How could they not know how dangerous the turbulence in the void was? Luo Yi might not necessarily die inside, but it was very likely that they would die. 30 billion divine roots. Give it to them. Luo Yi waved his hand, biting his teeth. If they could do this well, they would be on good terms with Patriarch Huang. Not only could they seek revenge, but they could also help the Shrine of Darkness rise. With Patriarch Huang's help, it would be a piece of cake to earn back the tens of billions of divine roots. A mighty warrior from the divinity took out 3 interspatial rings, which was the majority of the Shrine of Darkness savings over the years. Luckily, Poison Centipede had given them 10 billion divine roots. Otherwise, they would have spent a lot. Please come with me. After the Hall Master took the 30 billion divine roots, he was all smiles. It was rare to get such a big deal. He brought the 3 of them to a huge castle. There was a huge teleportation formation that was more than 1,000 feet wide. To teleport to the lower domain, one had to pass through the barrier of space. In the entire divinity, only the teleportation formation of the space-time office could do that. Luo Yi and the others stood in the altar. The Hall Master had mobilized 100 people to activate the altar. To activate the altar, many precious materials were needed. The teleportation would take half a month. 100 people used their divine power at the same time. The altar started to glow and then became brighter. After 2 hours, the teleportation altar shook violently. Following that, a pillar of light shot through the castle and into the clouds. Luo Yi and the others disappeared into the teleportation formation. Wow, countless people in the city were shocked. The pillar of light was too long. It was obvious that the altar to teleport to the lower domain had been activated. It had been a long time since someone was teleported to the lower domain. After all, the cost was too high. Not even mighty warriors in the divinity could afford it. I think I saw Luo Yi enter the space-time office. Is he teleporting to the lower domain? Luo Yi, master of the Shrine of Darkness? Why is he teleporting to the lower domain? Is he going to return the favor? That is possible. Nobody can find Lu Li now. He has killed Luo Ye's family. What else can Luo Yi do in the lower domain? He must be going there to kill for revenge since he has paid such a high price. Wow. This is big news. If Lu Li's family and friends are killed, will he lose his mind? How many people in the divinity will be killed by Lu Li? Hurry, go back and report to our family, just in case. In the city of space-time, the fact that Luo Yi had gone to the lower domain was spread out. This had nothing to do with the craftsman's sect. After all, Patriarch Chi, Patriarch Leopard, and Patriarch Neo were at the southernmost part of the divinity. Luo Yi had a strong motive to get back at them. That powerful pillar of light had been glowing for 10 days without fading away. It was confirmed. Someone had gone to the lower domain. Many people saw Luo Yi enter the space-time office with the 2 warriors and never came out. The news spread like wildfire. In just 10 days, it had spread to more than half of the immortal world. As a matter of fact, Dumeng had someone spread the news on purpose. He hoped that Lu Li would come to the space-time office rashly and teleport back with him. Dumeng had someone in the city of space-time. As soon as Lu Li came to the city of space-time, Patriarch Koei and the others would come right away. By then, Luo Yi wouldn't have to bring hostages to the divinity. Chapter 1565. What? In the Swords Mountain, Emperor of Heaven Reverse was taken aback when he received the news. He asked Do Ling, "Are you sure about this? Everyone in the divinity knows about this." Do Ling forced a smile. Many people have confirmed that Luo Yi went into the space-time city with two patriarchs. Supreme warriors in the divinity are too strong to fake. Also, the light from the space-time office is particularly strong, and it is still there. Apart from teleporting to the lower universe, where else can it take such a long time? What's more, Luo Yi never came out. This is troublesome. Emperor of Heaven Reverse pulled a long face. After a moment of hesitation, his eyes glowed. Luo Yi and the others are powerful. I don't think they can go to the Heaven Reverse universe and the Earth Imperial universe. Even if they teleport to the lower universe, they can only go to the purgatory of primordial chaos. The thing is, Do Ling forced a smile again. Given Luo Yi's abilities, it is too easy for him to subdue warriors from other universes. All the warriors in the lower universe will go crazy if he gives them some relics of the lowest level, not to mention everything else. When the other universes come to attack the Earth Imperial universe, do you think the Lu family can stop them? That's right. Emperor of Heaven Reverse nodded. Even if the Lu family has a city, Luo, you can break it with some random artifacts. That city is just a low-grade relic. Emperor of Heaven Reverse said with a bitter expression. Father, what should we do now? Do Ling was well aware of the importance of Lu Li to the Sword Sect. If Lu Li were to lose his mind, death would be the only outcome. The support that the Sword Sect finally found would be gone. I will send an avatar to talk to the Lu family so that they can be prepared. Emperor of Heaven Reverse hurried to the castle in the backyard. He sent an avatar to talk to the others. He asked the Lu family to arrange an escape route and send some elite disciples into the secret realm to avoid extinction. At the same time, he told those cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos to leave at once or they could be killed. When Patriarch of Law Enforcement was informed, he gathered all the powerful warriors and activated the Tender Plan. He sent Jiang Qiling, by Qiushue, by Xiaoshuang, Prajna, and the others away by force. They were sent to the secret realm whether they wanted to or not. At the same time, Patriarch of Law Enforcement sent someone to the prison of ice to send a message to Lu Renhuang and the others who were cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos to come back and defend the city with their lives. Emperor of Heaven Reverse did not elaborate. He only mentioned that 3 of Lu Li's enemies were from the divinity and that they had gone to the mortal world. Even though they could not enter the Earth Imperial universe and the Heaven Reverse universe, they could convince warriors from the other 9 universes to attack the Earth Imperial universe. Therefore, as far as Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Xingyang were concerned, as long as the Relic City was protected, what could some semi-god realm warriors do to them? Powerful ones from the divinity were indeed. That being said, they could not enter the Earth Imperial universe. As long as the city remained intact, they would be safe. Emperor of Heaven Reverse could not be bothered with the specific arrangements of the Lu family. Not to mention that he was only an avatar. Even if his true body descended to the lower realm, it would still be useless. Luo Yi was a supreme being of the divine world. He could crush him to death with a single finger. He paced up and down in the castle, wondering if he should tell Lu Li. If he didn't tell Lu Li and Lu Li found out later, he would definitely blame him. If he told Lu Li would definitely do something stupid. Never mind. Emperor of Heaven Reverse finally made up his mind. He took out the jade talisman Lu Li gave him and crushed it. He did not dare to hide such a serious matter from Lu Li. When Lu Li learned about it, he would fly into a rage. Emperor of Heaven Reverse could only try his best to help Lu Li and persuade him. As soon as the jade talisman was crushed, Lu Li, who was cultivating, was alarmed. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He was confused. Theoretically speaking, the Swords Mountain should be fine now that Grandmaster Black Flag was killed. Let's go. He put Qi Shi into the wicked bead and went to find Blood Fairy. Little White did not mind. Little White could not be of much help at the moment. It was safe here, and Little White could improve quickly. Lu sneaked his way up the Swords Mountain and sneaked into Emperor of Heaven Reverse's castle without anyone knowing. Doling was the only one who knew about this. Emperor, what is going on? Lu asked Emperor of Heaven Reverse, travel-worn. He did not even have a sip of water. The Swords Mountain was peaceful. There was no sign of tension. Lu, calm down. Have some water. Emperor of Heaven Reverse poured tea for Lu in person. He waved Doling away and said, I just received a piece of news. I will tell you about it. Don't get excited. You must calm down. What? A glint of coldness rose in Lu's eyes. He was like a lion that smelled danger. He took a sip of water to calm himself down before he asked, Speak. I can stay calm. Luo, Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness. Emperor of Heaven Reverse said with difficulty, I heard that he went to the space-time office 11 days ago and used the teleportation altar to descend. Rumor has it that he has gone to the purgatory of primordial chaos. What? Even though Lu was prepared, he was still shocked by the news. He stood up abruptly and asked, Is it true? Are you sure that he has gone to the purgatory of primordial chaos? Are you sure that he is going to the Earth Imperial Universe? Lu, calm down. I told you to calm down. Emperor of Heaven Reverse patted Lu's shoulder and explained, I have sent someone to verify it. It is certain that Luo has gone to the City of Space. The teleportation formation to the City of Space is still glowing. According to the information, only the teleportation formation in the lower universe can have such a large beam of light and last for such a long time. I have sent an avatar to inform your great-grandpa. He will make arrangements. Also, Luo and the others cannot go to the Earth Imperial Universe, or else the universe will collapse. So, you don't have to worry so much. Emperor of Heaven Reverse had said a lot, but Lu did not listen to much. His eyes were bloodshot and his breaths were short. He would not be so nervous if it were something else. But the Lu family and Bai Qiushue were his sore spots. He could not afford to offend them. Once someone did, he would not rest until one of them died. Go back. I must go back. He paced up and down in the room. He thought about the matter and said with determination, I must go back. Your Majesty, do you have a way for me to go back to the Earth Imperial Universe? Lu even had the urge to go to the City of Space. He would do anything as long as he could be teleported back, even if he had to sell the sacred mountain. Lu, don't be impulsive. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was regretting. He knew that Lu would be impulsive, but it was still a headache. Emperor of Heaven Reverse tried to persuade Lu, if you want to go back, you must go to the City of Space. But the powerful warriors of the Craftsman's sect must be waiting in the City of Space. As soon as you go, you will be killed. Also, who can guarantee that the space-time office will not kill you? The four forces are of the same breath and branch. I don't care. Lu waved his hand. I must go back. If I have to die, I want to die with my family and friends. Alas, if you really want to go back, there is only one way. Chapter 1566. Lu left the Swords Mountain and went to the Mount Wei Emperor. He built a new teleportation formation and told Little White about it. Little White wanted to go with Lu, but was turned down by Lu in a firm tone. Little White was obedient to Lu. It planned to hide in the mountain and eat up all the red and green stones in the mountain. Lu also built an inhibition formation in the mountain so that Little White would have a place to run and time to teleport back to the Swords Mountain should it encounter enemies. After all this was done, Lu went to the Rising Sun City and asked the Hall of Bloodblade to buy a map of the Void. The Void was boundless. Without a map, it was easy to get lost in it. Once lost in the Void, it was possible that one could never come out again. The four legendary forces all had such maps. Some major forces had them as well. It was not difficult to buy. Many powerful warriors had explored the Void. There were so many treasured lands in the Void. Even some supreme warriors in the divinity were cultivating in the Void. For example, in the turbulence of time, time flowed slowly. One could cultivate for 1,000 years in there, but only 1 year had passed in the outside world. Of course, in fact, one had lived for 1,000 years. It was the same. Also, in the void, there were many treasured lands where the laws of heaven and earth were transparent and clear. Studying in there could be twice the result with half the effort. In some places, one could even see the origin of the world and the essence of chaos. Those were the best places to study the laws of heaven and earth. Treasured lands and dangerous lands often went hand in hand. Many powerful warriors died in the dangerous lands in order to enter the treasured lands. The Slayer was one of them. How powerful was the Slayer? How many supreme warriors and powerful warriors died under the Slayer's move? In the end, the Slayer died in a dangerous land. It was easy for the Hall of Bloodblade to get the map. It was better for the Hall of Bloodblade to get the map than the Swords Mountain. After all, the Hall of Bloodblade was an assassin organization. It was reasonable for someone to ask the assassin organization for the map. In just a couple of hours, the Hall of Bloodblade had the map in their hands. Luli checked it out and left at once. He teleported to the east of the Xianqing mansion. There was a valley in space. The space in the valley was messy. It was a suitable place to go to the real void. In fact, if it was an expert, they could directly tear space apart and enter the void. However, it was very easy to get lost in that way. Moreover, tearing the void was equivalent to breaking the laws, and there would be a backlash. Luli's space grind took advantage of the law of space's backlash to strangle enemies to death. Therefore, it was best to enter the void from a weak point in space. Firstly, it was safe. Secondly, it was because they knew where they were and could move forward according to the map of the void. In less than half a day, Luli arrived at the valley. Before he got close, he could already sense that the space in the valley was fluctuating violently. A sense of danger emerged in Luli's mind. He quickly entered the valley with a determined look on his face. There was nothing inside the canyon. Only the space in the depths of the canyon was constantly fluctuating. Spatial cracks kept appearing, and they were very large. They looked extremely terrifying. Go! The thunder armor appeared over Luli's body. He dashed into the largest crack in space like a moth flying into a flame. The crack in space closed up slowly. Like the mouth of a beast, it swallowed Luli. 4 hours after Luli entered the void, 3 people emerged from the prison of thunder in the purgatory of primordial chaos. The prison of thunder was horrifying. The 3 of them appeared in the center of the ocean of thunder. Thunderbolts from all sides swept over and entangled the 3. However, the thunderbolts that were like the sword of death to warriors of the 9 universes did not have any effect on the 3. It was more like a tickle. After a while, that burly middle-aged man seemed to be fed up. He waved his hand, and the thunderbolts parted automatically. The 3 could not be touched at all. Grand Master, an old man whose eyebrows were almost all gone, pointed to the towering mountain in the distance and said, "We can go up there and reach the divinity. This is the path to heaven from the lower universe." The purgatory of primordial chaos is similar to the heaven's tribulation when one becomes a supreme warrior in the divinity. The purgatory of primordial chaos is the heaven's tribulation for mortals. After 10 trials, they can ascend to the divinity. Let's go. Luo Yi waved his hand. His psychic power was strong enough to cover half of the prison of thunder. He could not find anyone here. He had to capture all of Luli's family. However, he could not go to the Earth Imperial Universe. Therefore, he had to look for mortals. He had to find powerful ones among the mortals to help them attack the Earth Imperial Universe. The 3 of them flew on quickly. They were much faster than mortals. The prison of thunder was vast, but it only took them 2 hours to arrive at the entrance to the lower level. The 3 of them entered the 9th level of the prison of soul. The soul attacks here were nothing to them. They crossed over such a dangerous place as if they were walking on flat ground. Someone is here. Luo Yi suddenly raised his eyebrows. He saw an old man cultivating in the prison of soul. That old man was dying of old age. He had been sitting in a cave for God knows how many years. Let's go. Luo Yi waved his hand and flew away with the other 2. In the time for several incense sticks to burn, they arrived at the cave. Their strong energy alerted the old man cultivating in the cave. Whoosh, the old man dashed out with a saber in his hand. He looked at Luo Yi and the other two warily and asked coldly, "Who are you? What do you want?" "Kneel." Luo Yi snorted. He released a trace of his energy. The old man felt he was being pressed down by a mountain. He dropped to his knees at once. The old man was shocked. He looked at Luo Yi and the other two in disbelief. His lips trembled as he asked, "My lords, are you immortals?" Luo Yi did not answer. He was emotionless. He turned to a patriarch and said, "Patriarch Lu, control him." Patriarch Lu dashed over and put his hand on the old man's head. His hand glowed in a blue light. In the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Patriarch Lu stopped. The old man bowed and said, "Master, for immortals, controlling a mortal soul was a piece of cake, not to mention that Patriarch Lu was a super mighty warrior in the divinity with many strange skills. He could even control a mighty warrior in the divinity, not to mention a mortal." "Grandmaster." Patriarch Lu found some information from the old man's mind. He reported, "This man is a powerful warrior in the 9 universes. He is at the semi-god realm. I can tell from his soul that Lu Li's family has several semi-god realm warriors and a relic. We only need to control some semi-god realm warriors and mobilize an army to sweep across the Earth Imperial Universe." "Then what are we waiting for?" Luo Yi waved his hand and said, "Go around and control all the powerful warriors in the 9 universes. Then mobilize an army to attack the Earth Imperial Universe. I want the Earth Imperial Universe to be wiped out. Apart from Lu Li's family, I want everyone in the Earth Imperial Universe to be slaughtered." Search engine keywords. Chapter 1567. In the void, the light was dim. Luli could only see a faint glow in the distance. The Shin-Chi in heaven and earth was thin as well. Luli felt suffocated in there. If he were not a powerful warrior, he would suffocate to death after staying in there for a long time. There was almost no gravity in the void. Therefore, it was easy for Lu Li to fly, and he was fast. Of course, he did not dare to go too fast because there were dangers everywhere. One careless move, and he could lose his life. The void was vast and boundless. Everywhere was empty. He had no sense of direction. Without a map, Luli would not know how to fly. He could get lost in there and never get out. Swish, from the distance came a ray of light. It was like a meteor shower. Luli was intrigued, but he did not dare to go closer. He did not know if it was time turbulence or time reversal. If he entered the wrong place and stayed in there for a while, it might have been 10,000 years in the outside world. According to the ancient book given by Emperor of Heaven Reverse, time and space turbulence and time reversal were invisible on the surface. One could only sense the flow of time and space when one was close. However, once one was close enough, one could be sucked in. Luli once encountered a strange beast king in the beast divine realm, Master of Heichi. Master of Heichi had a special skill. He could breathe out airflow that could slow down the flow of time, which was similar to time turbulence. Luli did not dare to act rashly. He wanted to find a sea of stars based on the map. There were many meteorites in the sea of stars. At the very least, he would not lose his way after he found the sea of stars. Only when he found the sea of stars could he be sure of the direction and find the way to the 9 universes. Luli sped up. This was not the way to go on. He did not know how long it would take to reach the 9 universes based on the map. If it took months or years, what was the point of going back? Emperor of Heaven Reverse had sent a message to Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Patriarch of Law Enforcement would arrange for some important people to go to the secret realm. Patriarch of Law Enforcement and some others would defend the city to the death. Otherwise, Luo Yi would not let it go so easily if all of them escaped. It would take Luo Yi some time to go to the purgatory of primordial chaos and organize a team to attack the Earth Imperial Universe. It would take about a month for the city to be breached. Therefore, Luli still had 1 month. Flying in the void was a very boring thing because it was pitch black all around and only a faint light could be seen in the distance. There was nothing here, and even the air exuded an ancient and decaying aura. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was thin, making people feel very uncomfortable. After flying for 3 days, Luli didn't see the sea of stars marked on the map. He was troubled. Had he gone the wrong way? If it was a mistake, there would be a big problem. Faster. Luli made up his mind and sped up to the extreme. Unlike the divinity, there was no gravity here. Luli could travel 300 miles in the time for one breath. The speed of a mighty warrior in the divinity was not a joke. 2 hours later, Luli suddenly stopped. There was a black hole in front of him. The hole was also pitch black, but it was so dark that it made one's heart palpitate. Even the nearby light seemed to be absorbed by the black hole. Luli felt that if he got close to the black hole, he would be sucked in immediately. Space-time black hole. Luli remembered the description of the black hole in the ancient books. He was scared. Nobody knew what was inside the black hole. Maybe there was a land of treasures, or maybe it was a land of destruction where all living beings would be killed. Maybe it was a land of death where one could never come out and be trapped for the rest of their lives. All in all, according to the description in the ancient books, one must avoid this kind of black hole as soon as possible and not go in for no reason. Only those who were about to die and wanted to go in for a chance of survival could give it a try. Luli carefully went around the black hole and flew into the distance. An hour later, a meteor shower flew past Luli. Luli stopped to check again. His eyes glowed. He felt that time, in the turbulence of time, was moving very slowly, at least 10,000 times slower than the outside world. But he was stunned for a moment. That turbulence of time flew into the distance and vanished into the horizon. Alas, Luli regretted. He should have rushed in at once. The speed of space and turbulence was horrifying. Once in there, one would not even feel the passage of time. In a blink, one could travel thousands of miles. Luli's plan was to find a stream of turbulence in time or in space. Then, he could arrive at the 9 universes as soon as possible. Luli flew on. For hours later, he finally saw a sea of stars up ahead. Actually, it wasn't a sea of stars. It was just that there were huge meteorites floating in the void over there. Some of the meteorites were over 3,000 miles in size, and some were small, only 100 feet in radius. Okay. Luli jumped onto a boulder and waited quietly. He could reach the 9 universes in a couple of days if he could find the turbulence of time and space to the west. According to the map, if Luli were to fly by himself, it would take him 1 or 2 years to reach the 9 universes. By then, it would be too late. Luli could only count on the turbulence of time and space. 1 hour, 6 hours. 2 streams of space and space turbulence flew by. But they were too far away for Luli to sense them before they flew away. Those streams of space and space turbulence were fast. They flashed by like shooting stars. 12 hours, which was 1 day. Luli was getting impatient. He could not go on like this. How could he be so lucky? What if there were no streams of space and space turbulence flying by? Would he have to wait forever? 1 more day. If there are no streams, I will go there and find a chance along the way. Luli thought about it and made up his mind. He couldn't just wait here forever, could he? If there were no streams after 1 more day, he would have to fly over while waiting for a chance. Time moved on. Soon, half a day had passed. For more streams of space and space turbulence flew by. But they were too far away or in the wrong direction. Luli did not even have the chance to sense whether they were streams of space or turbulence. What? After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Luli suddenly felt a chill on his back. Somehow, he sensed danger. He turned around and looked into the distance. What he saw made him tremble in fear. His hands and feet felt cold, because in the distant void, a huge beast was silently approaching. That beast was thousands of feet long. It walked in the void without making a sound. The beast had the head of a lion, but the body was long and narrow. It looked like a dragon with spikes on its back. It had 6 legs and 4 wings. Its tail was like an iron whip. The pupils in its eyes were gray and emotionless. It was like a god of death. Chapter 1568. Luli once encountered a spatial beast in the valley between the Great Land and the Land of Serenity and Swallow. If it were not for the spatial beast, he would have lost his life. In the end, he flew away in the void right under the nose of the spatial beast. Also, Luli learned to move from the underground to the dragon's vein because of the origin skill of the spatial beast. That was his main move, Space Twist. Therefore, Luli had a deep impression of the spatial beast. He remembered that Patriarch Neo and Patriarch Leopard had been attacking the spatial beast for a long time, and they were all stopped by the spatial beast's origin shield. The spatial beast was so strong that not even supreme warriors in the divinity could kill it. Not to mention Luli. Buzzing, without any hesitation, Luli took out the 3 mountains from the wicked bead at once. At the same time, out of instinct, he wanted to draw a formation in the void and fly away. No, Luli could not tell if it was because of the turbulence in the void or for some other reason. Without hesitation, Luli enlarged one of the mountains and hopped onto it. Then, he flew the 3 mountains into the distance. Roar! Luli did not move. The spatial beast did not do anything either. It was just moving closer quietly. As soon as Luli ran away, the spatial beast bellowed and dashed toward Luli in a blur. "Ya-ao, hit me. Fong Chung, follow me closely and be ready to block the attack from behind." Luli was scared. The spatial beast could breathe out dark air. Last time, Luli saw that all warriors enveloped by the dark air would be minced to death, be they regular immortals or mighty warriors in the divinity. Luli had just become a mighty warrior in the divinity. Could he survive the dark air? Therefore, he didn't dare to let those spatial beasts get close to him. Yet Ao controlled the divine mountain to expand to a radius of 10 miles, then fiercely smashed towards the spatial beasts that were chasing after him with a thunderous sound. Bang! The spatial beast made the first move. Its huge tail smashed at Luli, and cracks appeared in the void. When the tail landed on the mountain was smashed away, but only for dozens of miles. Impressive, Luli exclaimed to himself. He could not even imagine how heavy the mountain was. Back in the days, when Shimeng bumped into the mountain, his bones were broken. Shimeng was a magical beast that specialized in cultivating his physical body, and he also had a royal bloodline. Back then, the divine mountain hadn't even moved an inch. Of course, a spatial divine beast's battle prowess was comparable to a paragon of the immortal world. It was also a vicious beast, so its fleshly body was no weaker than a devil's. From this point of comparison, it could be seen how powerful the space divine beast was. On the gums, seeing that the spatial beast was catching up, Luli sent out the green mountain at once. At the same time, he told Yaao to catch up quickly and take turns to attack the spatial divine beast, so that the spatial divine beast could not attack him. Roar, the space divine beast spat out a mouthful of black air, but it was completely blocked by the green divine mountain. The green mountain fiercely smashed towards the space beast. A muffled boom was heard as the space beast was forced back for over 10 miles, while the mountain was bounced back as well. On the other side, the golden mountain flew over, but it was swept away by the spatial beast's tail. Luli was a bit relieved. The 2 mountains were taking turns to attack. The space divine beast was distracted and could not catch up with Luli anytime soon. Of course, Luli did not dare to stop or let his guard down. The space divine beast was faster than the mountains. Once it caught up with him, one mouthful of black air could end his life. What to do? Even though the 2 mountains were suppressing the space divine beast, Luli was still worried. He could not go on like this. He was dancing on a mountain of knives. One wrong move, and he could be smashed into pieces. Time turbulence. All of a sudden, Luli saw a ray of light behind him. He checked at once and realized that it was time turbulence. He had the chance to go in, but the 2 mountains were attacking the space divine beast. If he went in now, the 2 mountains would be left behind. He hesitated for the time, for one breath. The time turbulence flew away and vanished into the distance. Luli regretted. He should have gone in and come back to find the 2 mountains when he had the time. Roar, roar, the space divine beast was enraged. Even though the space divine beast was not harmed by the two mountains, it had stopped it from approaching Luli. The space divine beast bellowed and unleashed its energy. Its huge tail kept sweeping away the two mountains that were smashing at it. The space divine beast chased after Luli. "Here we go." Seeing that the space divine beast was catching up, Luli had no other choice but to send out the last mountain and fly away himself. Boom, boom, boom. The three mountains took turns to attack the space divine beast, which made it harder for the space divine beast to catch up with Luli. Luli flew into the distance quickly. He was trying to figure out a way. He could not go on like this. Did he have to keep fighting with the space divine beast? The space divine beast was not intelligent. If he could not find a way to escape, the space divine beast would stay here forever. He was in a hurry to go to the 9 universes. If he had to fight with the space divine beast for several months, the bodies at the Earth Imperial universe would be cold. There is a black hole up ahead. Luli suddenly saw a black hole to his left. He was cheered up. If the space divine beast was sucked into the black hole, then everything would be fine. Luli turned to his left and flew around the black hole. At the same time, he ordered Yaao and the others, find a way to smash the space divine beast into the black hole. Roar, roar, the attacks from the 3 mountains became more violent. The space divine beast was smashed away. The space divine beast bellowed in rage. Seeing that Luli was flying around the black hole, the space divine beast would occasionally glance at Luli with coldness and killing intent. Boom! The golden mountain found a chance and smashed into the space divine beast from the side. The space divine beast was smashed away and flew toward the black hole. Okay, Luli yelled. He was about to run away when something unexpected happened. The space divine beast was surrounded by a black airstream. The space divine beast breathed out the black airstream. The black hole suddenly glowed. Following that, a surge of suction force covered an area with a radius of 300 miles. Oh no! Luli sensed that he was enveloped by a horrifying suction force, which was dragging him into the black hole. He was taken aback. He struggled and tried to fly away, but he could not fight against the suction force. Whoosh, whoosh, the black hole was like the mouth of a huge beast. It sucked in the space divine beast, Luli, and the 3 mountains. However, after a moment, the black hole trembled. That space divine beast dashed out. It stood outside the black hole and roared into the distance. Buzzing, from the distance came a ray of light. Then a vague figure appeared. The figure was blurry, and his face could not be seen clearly. Seeing this figure, the space divine beast crouched in midair, shaking its head and wagging its tail. The space divine beast did not look like a beast king, but more like a puppy waiting for its master's praise. Luli, the blurry figure, spoke. His voice was old and illusory. He glanced at the space-time black hole and said, "This is one of the most powerful space-time black holes in the void, and also one of the most terrifying. If you can survive in there, you will be able to soar up to the clouds and soar into the sky. But if you die in there, it means that you are not meant to be with Our Lady." P.S. Off topic, I went for a checkup on Friday. I have been writing for 6 years, and I have developed many illnesses. Lumbar muscle strain, nerve deterioration, lumbar vertebrae, cervical vertebrae, bone hyperplasia. The doctor suggested that I stop updating for a month to take care of my body, or else I will be disabled. How could Dragon King stop before he finished? The doctor suggested that I should update less and rest more. The space divine beast was confused and didn't know what to do. On the one hand, there was the career that he loved and the expectation of countless readers. On the other hand, his body was deteriorating. It was hard to satisfy both sides. After thinking about it for 2 days, the space divine beast decided to update at least 3 times a day until the end of the book. Chapter 1569. Whoosh, in a trance, Luli felt he had traveled through a tunnel of time and space. He felt time was flowing backward. He felt he was floating and there was no end to it. It was dark around him. He could not see anything. Apart from the sound of the wind, there was no other sound. He couldn't control his own body and couldn't move. He could only be sucked inside. He didn't know where the end was, how long he would have to float, and what awaited him later. Would the end of the tunnel lead to hell? Somehow he was panicking. It was not that he was afraid of danger or death. He was afraid that he would be trapped here, unable to go back to the 9 universes and save his family and friends. Luli thought about his family being killed one by one, about the Earth Imperial Universe being flattened by the allied forces of the 8 universes, about the mountains and plains covered with dead bodies. He grew more and more panicked. He wanted to yell, but he realized that he could not even do so. He could not even open his mouth. There was nothing he could do other than to float along with the waves like a boat in a raging sea. He had to calm himself down and stop thinking about anything. He forced himself to forget about the Earth Imperial Universe. Otherwise, he would not be able to face the coming crisis. If he were to die in here, then how could he go to the Earth Imperial Universe to save his family and friends? After a while, Luli decided to cultivate. Who knew how long he would be floating? There was nothing he could do now. He might as well make the best use of his time to cultivate. He forced himself to get rid of the distracting thoughts and enter the state of cryptic realm. He began to study the Mark of Sword move. At the same time, he began to cultivate divine energy. What? As soon as he began to cultivate divine energy, he trembled. He realized that the speed of cultivation here was astoundingly fast. His divine energy was growing even faster than when he was in the valley at the Hall of Ghosts, more than 10 times faster. What is going on? He suddenly opened his eyes and looked around. He sensed that the Xian-Qi in heaven and earth was not particularly dense. How could he cultivate so fast here? This was not logical. At the moment, he felt he was in a trance. Was he wrong? Not only was the Xian-Qi in heaven and earth not dense, but thin. How could he cultivate divine energy so fast? He looked around blankly and decided not to think too much about it. He closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. If this was an illusion or a dream, then let it be a dream. At the very least, his current cultivation speed was very fast, which was enough to comfort his heart. One of Lu Li's good qualities was that he could stay calm in a dangerous situation. Even in such a situation, he could still concentrate on cultivation. There was also a benefit to cultivation. It allowed one to forget about time and everything else. They could completely immerse themselves in cultivation, so they wouldn't panic or go crazy. One day, 10 days, 1 month. Luli opened his eyes. He realized that he was still floating in. He had not reached the bottom of the black hole. Luli was in a trance again. Was he in a dream? Was his perception wrong? The speed at which he was being pulled was extremely fast, almost 10 times faster than when he was flying at full speed. How could he not reach the bottom of the space-time black hole after flying for a month? He imagined a possibility. Perhaps after he entered the space-time black hole, he had already fainted, and everything he was feeling now was actually a dream. Did the space-time black hole force a thought into his dream and make him perceive wrongly? Or perhaps he was already in an illusion. Was what he perceived an illusion? As a matter of fact, he had reached the bottom of the space-time black hole. It was just that there was an illusion around him that made him feel he was still flying. Reality and illusion. Luli felt his mind was being split. He was about to lose his mind. He forced himself not to overthink. Once again, he entered the cryptic realm to cultivate. He wanted to see how much longer he had to fly. He could not fly for the rest of his life. Could he? The only thing that comforted Luli was that he was cultivating fast here, not just divine energy. In the cryptic realm, his mind was clearer, and he had a thorough understanding of the laws around him. He was studying the 4 fundamental principles in the sword scar move. He felt it was going well. He was almost done with the second one. All that was left was for him to master it. The other 2 fundamental principles were beginner level. It was only a matter of time before he mastered them. In a trance, Luli didn't know how long had passed. Maybe it was half a year, maybe it was a year. He opened his eyes in a daze and found that his body was still rapidly drifting into the distance. He could not move. He couldn't even open his mouth to shout. A year, Luli murmured to himself. The light in his eyes dimmed down. If a year had passed, then the Earth Imperial Universe would have turned into hell. It would be pointless for him to come out from the space-time black hole. One supreme warrior and two super mighty warriors in the divinity. Even three average immortals could control warriors from the mortal world, not to mention warriors of such a level. Could the Lu family stand a chance when warriors of the 8 universes gathered their forces to attack the Earth Imperial Universe? Even if the Lu family had a city, it was just a low-level relic. It was indestructible to the average people, but nothing to the warriors of the divinity. Luo Yi and the other two could not enter the Earth Imperial Universe, but they could grant relics to the average people. If warriors of the other 8 universes were given some supreme relic weapons, they could cut open the city easily. Humans' fear often stemmed from their lack of understanding of the unknown. Luli did not know what was going on in the Earth Imperial Universe. He did not know how Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Zhengyang, Lu Renhuang, by Qiu Xue, Jiang Qiling, and by Xia Shuang were doing. That was why he was growing more fearful. He could not accept the tragedy of everyone being killed. He could not imagine the danger they would be in. That was why he was restless, agitated, and scared. No, I'm going to lose my mind. Lu Li's face was twisted. His eyes reddened, and his breaths were short. He could not move yet. This situation could drive him mad, break him down, and turn him into a lunatic. Calm down, calm down. Maybe it is not that bad. Lu Li comforted himself. He tried to think on the bright side. In this way, he would not be so panicked, so afraid, and he would not drive himself crazy. Right? He suddenly remembered something. There were several types of space-time black holes. Some of them had a very slow flow of time. 10,000 years in the black hole could be equivalent to only 1 year in the outside world. If this was the type of space-time black hole he was in, then he could stay in there for over 1,000 years, and only 1 month would pass in the outside world. That is possible. Lu Li comforted himself. Apart from this, he had no other hope. Chapter 1570. Drifting. Lu Li was like a shooting star, flying in the void with no end in sight. Maybe he would only stop when all the energy was consumed and he was reduced to ashes. He was traveling in the darkness all by himself. He could see nothing, hear nothing, and he could not move. He did not know where his destination was. It was a frustrating feeling. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li had a strong mind, he would have broken down. What was more unbearable was that traveling in a black hole in space and time would give him a feeling that he could not tell the difference between reality and illusion. This was the most uncomfortable feeling and could easily drive him mad. How many years has it been? 5 years? 10 years? Is the Earth Imperial Universe still there? Great-grandpa, grandpa, father, Linger, Qiushua, and Xia Shuang, are they still alive? Lu Li woke up from cultivation again. He was in a worse state of mind because he realized that he was still drifting. He felt he had been drifting for at least a few years. If so, then the Earth Imperial Universe would be doomed. He lost his passion for cultivation. He was in a muddle-headed state. He was not a saint. He could not stay strong. He would be sad, lost, confused, and helpless. The emotions he had been suppressing for some time had erupted recently. He didn't want to do anything. His mood became extremely pessimistic and sad. His mind began to wander. His mind was on the verge of collapse. If this went on, he might lose his mind or even die. By then, he would turn into a mummy and float in the black hole in space and time for eternity. As the world moved on, Lu Li's expressions became more and more awful. His pupils became unfocused. His spirit was weakening. He was in a dangerous state. 5 days, 10 days. Lu Li's face became ferocious. His eyes turned redder and redder. From his throat came out some low growls. He was like a beast trying to break free from the chains. Roar, roar, he kept yelling and struggling. His mind was filled with rage and murderous intent. He wished he could tear apart all the creatures nearby. He wanted to destroy everything and break the void. Lu Li had reached the most dangerous stage. He had lost his mind. At this rate, he would turn into a lunatic. His normal thoughts would be taken over by rage, and he would lose himself. Right at that moment, the dragon soul in Lu Li's mind suddenly lit up. Then a soft glow enveloped his entire soul. A strand of pure energy entered Lu Li's soul. It was as if a person who was dying of thirst had drunk a drop of sweet spring water. Lu Li's entire soul came back to life. The hostility and negative emotions in his mind were gone and purified. The red light in his eyes slowly disappeared, and the ferocious expression on his face gradually calmed down. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Lu Li opened his eyes again. He was calm and collected. It could even be said that he was terrifyingly calm as a wild beast. He stared blankly at the pitch-black void, not doing anything. He just stared like that for 2 whole hours. Then, he closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. He had thought through many things. Whether or not the Earth Imperial Universe was in trouble, no matter how many years had passed. At the very least, he couldn't get out, move, or do anything. He could only cultivate and become stronger. He could only become strong enough to walk out of this space-time black hole. If he went out, the Earth Imperial Universe would have been destroyed and everyone would have been killed. Then, he would have to avenge the dead and hunt down Luo Yi and the others. This was what he should do. Grief was meaningless. Frustration could not change anything. Only by becoming stronger could he do what he wanted. Having thought things through, Lu Li entered the cryptic realm state. This time, he went into closed-door cultivation. He did not think about anything other than to see the Sword of the Scar move and learn it. There were only 2 things on his mind: to learn the Sword of the Scar move, to become stronger, and then to leave the space-time black hole. He immersed himself in cultivation. The chi and energy in his body became feeble. He seemed to have become a stone, a shooting star flying into the distance, to an unknown destination, or to a destination that would never end. 10 years, 30 years, 46 years. Lu Li could tell that he had been in the space-time black hole for 46 years. There might be some differences, or he might be wrong. Today, he opened his eyes. His eyes were glowing. He had finally learned the Sword of the Scar move. He had learned all 4 types of fundamental principles and had integrated them. He was confident that if he could move now, he could release Master of Ghosts move, Sword of the Scar, and he would have 70% of the power of Master of Ghosts move. After cultivating for so many years, his elixir had turned golden, and the divine energy in it was abundant. According to his calculations, in terms of divine energy, he should be comparable to a super mighty warrior in the divinity. The only pity was that his soul was still weak. He could not move, and he could not consume any soul-nurturing elixirs. Over the years, when he was cultivating divine energy, his soul was growing automatically. Even though it was growing at a decent speed, it was not as powerful as a super mighty warrior in the divinity. The Sword of the Scar move was powerful. Lu Li did not know the exact strength, but he believed that it should be able to kill an average super mighty warrior in the divinity. That being said, the Sword of the Scar did not seem to be of much use to Lu Li because he realized that he was still floating in there. I don't think there is an end to this black hole. If I do not figure out a way, I will be floating in there for tens of thousands of years, millions of years, or even forever. Lu Li had been focused on the Sword of the Scar move, so he did not have much time to think. Now that he had mastered the Sword of the Scar move, he finally had time to think about the black hole. He had a wrong idea. He thought that the black hole would take him to a mysterious place. He would fly on until he reached an end. Now, he realized that this black hole might be a tunnel of time and space with no end. Once one was trapped in it, he would be trapped and would have to fly around. Amazing! Lu Li exclaimed to himself. At his current speed, he could fly around the divinity for dozens of times in dozens of years. How could this tunnel be so long? Is there a natural illusion in here? Am I not moving forward? I am just moving forward? Am I just moving forward? A possibility came to Lu Li's mind. He sent a message to Blood Fairy after some thought. He asked her to check around to see if there were any inhibition formations. Buzzing. The interspatial ring on Lu Li's hand glowed. A blood-red tentacle came out and reached out. Blood Fairy was a spiritual being. She did not have a physical body, so she was not bound by the force here. Her tentacle kept reaching into the distance to check around. Only after reaching for hundreds of miles did she retract her tentacle. "Master, there are no signs of inhibition formations nearby," Blood Fairy reported. "There is nothing but the void. There is nothing. No formation patterns, no formation cores, nothing. I don't think there are any inhibition formations." "No." Luli blinked. He could not figure it out. If there were no inhibition formations, how could the black hole be so long? Logically speaking, it did not make sense. Space? Time and space? No. Chapter 1571. In that ancient book, there was a description about the black hole. According to it, the passage of time in the black hole could be slow. 10,000 years in the black hole could be equivalent to 1 year in the outside world. The passage of time could be so fast that 1 year in the black hole could be 10,000 years in the outside world. Therefore, Luli wondered if it was because the passage of time was too slow that he had not reached the end after dozens of years. Maybe the tunnel was short, only hundreds of miles long. But since the passage of time was 10,000 times slower, he had only moved a short distance in decades. If that was really the case, then it was logically possible. Master of Heichi was an example. Master of Heichi had a special skill. He breathed out cyan airstream. Luli was trapped in the cyan airstream. The airstream only covered an area with a radius of a few miles, but it would take Luli a long time to fly out because the passage of time in the cyan airstream was slow. If that is the case, it will be wonderful. Lee's eyes glowed. If that was the case, then the decades he had spent in the black hole could only be a day or two for the outside world, or even a couple of hours. I need to figure out a way to get out. Lee's heart was burning with passion. If he could find a way to break open the tunnel and dash out, then the Earth Imperial Universe could still be saved. He still had a chance to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. However, how could he get out? He could not move at all. There was a strong restraining force in here. Besides, even if he could find a way to stand the restraining force, he would have to fly back to the exit of the black hole. He had been here for decades. Did that mean he would have to spend decades to fly out? My body is being restrained. I think it is by the force of space. Time passes so slowly in here. If I want to get out, do I have to learn a law of time? Luli had some ideas. After a while, he entered the state of enigma state. This time, he did not study. Instead, he tried to sense the situation around him and the changes in time and space. 5 days, 1 month, half a year. Finally, Luli opened his eyes. He sensed something was off. For example, there was no fluctuation in space. Wasn't he flying fast? Why was there no fluctuation in space? There was also time. He kept flying, but he almost couldn't feel the passage of time. Now he was almost certain the passage of time here was definitely slower than the passage of time outside, but he didn't know how much slower it was. The fact that he could sense the movement of space and the flow of time was already a huge improvement. In any case, the flow of time here was so slow, so he was not in a hurry. At worst, he could spend a few more decades comprehending the laws of time and space and break through the space-time black hole to get out. With a direction, it was much easier for Luli to study. Moreover, in the state of the cryptic spirit realm, he would be more in tune with heaven and earth. The surrounding laws would be clearer and more thorough, and it would be much easier for him to comprehend. 3 years later, he successfully comprehended a type of spatial law true intent. He became more and more excited, because as long as he could comprehend the true meaning of the law of space to the large success stage, he might be able to move his body and wouldn't be restricted in any way. 9 years later, Luli, who had been motionless, finally moved. When he opened his eyes, his body glowed. Then he flew up like a mad dragon. Although he was still pulled far away by the powerful suction force, at least he could move. Good. Luli stretched his body and was even happier. At the very least, being able to move proved that his train of thought was correct and his previous assumption was correct. As long as he could understand the law of time here, he might be able to leave. There was another reason why he was happy. His assumption was correct, which meant that the flow of time here was slow. He had been in here for decades, but only 1 or 2 days had passed in the outside world. In that case, the Earth Imperial Universe could still be saved. I have to thank the dragon's soul, Luli exclaimed. If it were not for the dragon's soul, he would have lost his mind and died. How could he have made it? What kind of treasure is this dragon's soul? Is it the primordial spirit? How powerful is my sister's family? Another question came to Lu Li's mind. The dragon's soul was transformed from the animal tooth pendant, which was given to her by the Lu Ling family for protection. Lu Ling's family was powerful. Not even supreme warriors in the divinity could go up to the mountain of dragons. Luli could tell many things from this point. Okay, back to cultivation. After a couple of hours of rest, Luli resumed cultivation in high spirits. He did not feel tired at all. Instead, he was motivated. He could cultivate for dozens of years, but he would feel it was just a snap of his fingers. He saw hope the dawn. He would not feel tired when he was cultivating in such a state. Instead, as time went by and his abilities improved, he would grow more confident and excited. It was pitch black in the void, putting people in between illusion and reality. Time seemed to be moving slowly here. But for Luli, he felt time was passing too fast. Soon, another 10 years had passed. Luli had finally mastered the law of time. He was getting more and more excited. Every time, he would stop for a couple of hours, and then he would get up again to cultivate. Another 8 years passed. Luli opened his eyes. His lips moved, but his smile was stiff. He had forgotten how long it had been since he last smiled. The muscles on his face were stiff. He put on a smile, which grew bigger and bigger. Then he burst into laughter. Eventually, he stood up and threw his head back. His body was still being pulled into the distance, so his robes were fluttering in the strong wind, and his silver-white hair was also fluttering in the air. He could not stop laughing. He vented all the negative emotions and anger that he had been suppressing over the years. It has been more than 70 years, right? Lu Li's face was full of sorrow. His beard had grown to the length of his lower abdomen, and his white hair had almost reached his feet. He felt like he had become an old man. He had been trapped in there for more than 70 years. Since he was born, it had been less than 70 years. It would be fine if the time here was 10,000 times slower than the outside world. But if it was 10,000 times faster, then it would be more than 700,000 years in the outside world, even though he had been in there for more than 70 years. More than 700,000 years. What would become of the outside world? Would all his friends be dead? He didn't even know if Lu Ling was still alive. Luli shook his head after some thoughts. A ray of light rose from his hand, and it grew brighter. He waved it to the sky and shouted, "Time stop." Luli poured out a ray of light. The ray of light pierced into the void and then spread out like a waterfall, forming an inverted shield. In the end, an oval shield appeared and enveloped Luli. Something miraculous happened. Luli suddenly stopped moving. He was no longer being pulled into the distance by that force. Chapter 1572. After more than 70 years, Luli finally cracked open the black hole. As a matter of fact, part of the reason why he could do it so quickly was that he had a deep understanding of spatial law and fundamental principle. At the same time, he had been exposed to Master of Heichi's special skill of time. Of course, the cryptic realm was a great help as well. In this state, he was closer to heaven and earth and could sense the world nearby. Whoosh! Luli flew into the distance like a sharp sword. He put away the 3 mountains, and his speed was dozens of times faster than before. His divine energy was abundant, no different from the average super mighty warriors in the divinity. He was confident that his understanding of laws and fundamental principle would not be weak. The only difference was that his soul was weak. When his soul could be improved, he would be a super mighty warrior in the divinity. To grow from a mighty warrior to a super mighty warrior in the divinity in more than 70 years might be too slow for Luli. But for many in the divinity, it was incredible. That being said, for some geniuses in the divinity and the land of serenity, Lu Li's progress was not fast enough. For example, Lu Ling, The number one on the list was already a super mighty warrior in the divinity, one of the top 500 on the list. There were also Pan Yuqin, Qi Shaobai, Siam Wan, and others. They were all super mighty warriors in the divinity, younger than 100 years old. In the mortal world, those below 30 years old were considered young. In the divinity, those below 100 years old were considered young. Those below 100,000 years old could be considered old. Immortals could live a long life. Usually, when they became mighty warriors in the divinity, they could live for hundreds of thousands of years. Supreme warriors in the divinity were almost immortal. Whoosh! Luli sped up to the limit. A white shield appeared around him. The suction force lost its effect. The flow of time seemed to have disappeared as well. Oh! After flying for just over 2 days, Luli saw a cave in front of him. His eyes glowed. His speculation was correct. The space-time tunnel was not long. The reason why Luli could not reach the bottom after such a long time was that the flow of time in the tunnel was slow, thousands of times slower than the outside world. Therefore, it seemed that he was flying fast, but he had not covered a long distance. That was to say, he had only been flying for 2 days, but the flow of time was tens of thousands of times slower. Luli felt like 70 years had passed, but actually, only 2 days had passed in the outside world. 2 days, so magical. Nothing was too strange in the world. Luli exclaimed, how many more secrets were there in the world? No wonder countless experts wanted to explore the space turbulence. However, this place was too dangerous. What if he entered a place where time did not slow down, but instead sped up? If one stayed inside for a year, 10,000 years might have passed in the outside world. If one were to be trapped inside for 100 years and come out, 1,000,000 years would have passed in the outside world. The world would be completely different, and all the people that one was familiar with would die. That kind of situation would probably drive many people mad, right? Whoosh, Luli flew out from the cave. When he happened to see a stream of time turbulence flying by, he felt like crying for some reason. Perhaps only a few days had passed in the outside world, but he had been trapped here for more than 70 years. He had only been born in the God world for a few decades. How many things had he experienced in those few decades? How far had he traveled? How many places had he visited? Now, he had been trapped in one place for more than 70 years. Luli touched the long beard on his chin. All kinds of feelings welled up his mind. He did not know what to say. Luli raised his head and bellowed 3 times to release his pent-up emotions. He did not use Dragon Roar, but his voice was heard in an area with a radius of more than 30 miles. Luli's roars were loud, and he was depressed. What? Dozens of miles away in a void, there was a meteorite. On the meteorite sat a man with his legs crossed, and next to him was a huge beast. That beast was the spatial mythical beast that had been chasing after Luli. Hearing Luli shout, the spatial mythical beast opened its eyes and stood up. Violent energy spread out from it, and there was a hint of anger in its eyes. Big Beaver, calm down. The mysterious man waved his hand. The spatial mythical beast shook its head and tail obediently. The mysterious man was still blurry. He could not see his face, not even his figure. He looked into the distance, as if he could see Luli through the void. After a while, the old man nodded and said, "This punk is talented. He has come out after only a few days. I don't think he has reached the bottom of the black hole. His energy is stronger, and his divine energy is more profound. If he can come out from the black hole, he must have learned a powerful law of space or time or both. This punk is a promising young man. No wonder Our Lady has been concerned about him. No wonder our master chose him back then." "What?" the old man suddenly said in surprise again. He looked to Luli's direction. On the other side, Luli took out his demon slayer and hacked at the void. That move created a long and narrow ray of light. As soon as the ray of light was unleashed, heaven and earth were affected. Space was trembling, and Shin energy in heaven and earth were surging toward that direction. It was a magnificent sight. Luli did not hack at the space directly. He paused in midair and then turned to the other side. The moment he paused, the space was trembling more violently. More energy in heaven and earth were drawn over. The beast of space that had calmed down became agitated. Swish, the ray of light paused again in midair and then changed direction. The space trembled again as more energy in heaven and earth were drawn over. The power of this move had reached its peak. It was as powerful as thunder and could destroy the world. Whoosh, the ray of light flew into the distance and landed on a meteorite 3 miles away from Luli. The stone exploded with a loud bang, instantly turning into powder, and the surrounding space was torn into tiny cracks. Ghost cut. The mysterious man sighed and stood up suddenly. He nodded and said, "To be able to comprehend the Ghost King's famous killer move, this kid can easily defeat most of the super mighty figures of the divine realm. He should be ranked in the top 150 on the divine list. Well, even if he cannot defeat Luo Yi, he can at least put up a fight." "Nice," the mysterious man exclaimed. After a while, he said all of a sudden, "Since you have surprised me, I will give you a hand." As the old man spoke, he suddenly reached out to the left. Something shocking happened. In the distance, a streak of turbulence that was flying to the left suddenly changed its direction and dashed toward Luli. Luli had just released the sword mark move. Before he had time to exclaim, he saw a ray of light. Chapter 1573. So fast, Luli was carried away by that ray of light. He tried to sense the outside and realized that the ray of light was moving fast. It was not just fast. More importantly, the ray of light contained the law of time. That was to say, while it was flying, it seemed to be chasing after time. "I hope it's time turbulence and not time reversal." Luli was nervous. He sat with his legs crossed and tried to sense. Soon he was excited. He could feel that the time outside was slower than the time inside. That was to say, it was time turbulence and not time reversal. When the ray of light traveled through space and time, it was chasing after time. Therefore, when he was in there, time did not seem to have passed. How can it be so coincidental? Am I that lucky? I was hit by the space-time turbulence? Luli was bewildered. In fact, he already had some doubts about the spatial beast, because at the border of the divinity and the land of Yuyin, under the deep valley, the spatial beast clearly saw him, but it did not attack him. Instead, it allowed him to easily fly away. He felt that the two beasts of space were actually one. Last time, the beast of space let him go and even saved his life at a critical moment. This time, the beast of space appeared, and he just happened to be in the space-time black hole. He stayed in the space-time black hole for more than 70 years. Only a few days had passed in the outside world. Now, as soon as he came out from the space-time black hole, he was hit by another ray of light. That ray of light happened to be the space-time turbulence. Did he run into all the good things? If he was really that lucky and the son of heaven, he would not have to go through so many hardships. Luo Yi would not have gone to the purgatory of primordial chaos to kill people. He would have been struck to death by thunderbolts as soon as he stepped out. Luli gazed into the void in the distance. Somehow, he felt a mysterious hand was controlling everything. The owner of that mysterious hand had once saved his life. The hand gave him the skill to fly across space and helped him distract Patriarch Bao and the others. This mysterious man had helped him so much, but he never showed up. Luli thought that it was either he wasn't strong enough or he wasn't qualified to meet this mysterious man. Either that mysterious man did not want to meet him, or it was a matter of strength. If Luli was strong enough, everything would be fine. I don't want to think about it anymore. He shook his head and looked into the distance. The terrain of the 9 realms appeared in his mind as he waited for the flowing light to arrive. If he missed this chance, he would never have another chance to rescue his family and clansmen. The speed was so fast that Luli could barely feel the passage of time. Of course, time passed slowly in the outside world, but Luli still felt like he had spent a long time in the light. He kept recalling the map in his mind and compared it repeatedly. Naturally, he did not dare to continue cultivating. This time turbulence was like the blink of an eye. Who knew where they would arrive in the next second? Not knowing how long had passed, Luli sensed that time was a bit messed up. It was as if he had traveled through space and time. He was chasing after time, which made him feel that time was messed up. It was a strange and even strange feeling. It shouldn't be far. Luli saw a huge ball in front of him. The ball was emitting light and heat. It was blood red in color, and the temperature was very high. It was marked in the ancient texts, and the blood-colored orb was called the Red Devil Orb. It was said to be extremely terrifying, and many of the God-world paragons who entered had died. Fortunately, the ray of light was far away. In an instant, Luli had flown away. Luli kept his eyes on the front. According to the map, not far ahead, there would be many huge pillars of light piercing through the void. Those would be the purgatory of primordial chaos, the bridge connecting the divinity and the mortal world. Here it is. Luli did not know how long had passed. Anyway, time was messed up. All of a sudden, his eyes glowed. There was a huge pillar of light in front of him. The pillar was erected, with a diameter of at least tens of thousands of miles. As for its height, Luli could not tell. He could not see the end. Purgatory of primordial chaos. Luli was excited. The map indicated that the 53rd pillar of light after the Red Devil Orb was connected to the 9 universes. The ray of light moved on. It was as if the ray of light had eyes. It could turn on its own and go around the first pillar of light. 2, 3, 10, 30, Luli counted to himself. He was getting more excited. When he passed by the 52nd pillar of light, Luli yelled, "Let's go." He poured out divine energy with one hand. A shield of light came into being around him. Then he flew out. It was not easy to get out of the turbulence of time. Luckily, he had learned the law of time. Otherwise, he would be like the cyan airstream that the master of Heichi breathed out. It seemed that he was not far away, but he would have to fly for a long time. Using the law of time, Luli flew out in an instant. As he flew out, he suddenly felt something was wrong. He felt he had bumped into something. However, he used psychic power to check and found nothing. He could not afford to worry too much. He flew out quickly. If he did not get out of the turbulence of time, he would be hundreds of millions of miles away in the next second. Whoosh, he made it out. He flew away from the turbulence of time and space like a shooting star. In an instant, he vanished into the end of the void. Phew, phew. Luli breathed heavily. His eyes were glowing like 2 stars. He grinned. Looking at the huge pillar of light in the distance, he was trembling in excitement. If he was right, that pillar of light should be the purgatory of primordial chaos in the 9 universes. As long as he could enter the pillar of light, he could return to the purgatory of primordial chaos in the Earth Imperial Universe. He was mighty, but he came from the 9 universes. He had been to many universes, and those universes had signs of life. Theoretically speaking, those universes would not repel him. He should be able to enter the universes that he had been to because they were of the same origin. Move! He did not stop for even a moment. He flew toward the pillar of light at the top of his speed. He must find a weak spot in the pillar of light, or else he would not be able to enter the purgatory of primordial chaos. What? A moment later, he felt something was off. He stood up abruptly. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. It was not because he had found an enemy. He felt something was inside him. He quickly sat cross-legged in the void and closed his eyes to look inside. He had a bad feeling in his heart. When he flew out from the turbulence of time, he bumped into something. Oh no! After a short moment, his eyes suddenly opened, and they were filled with terror and terror. His expression was extremely unsightly, and there was not a trace of blood on his face. He noticed that there was something in his blood and bone marrow, a colorless, odorless, formless worm. At the moment, those worms were eating his blood and bone marrow. Worms of the void. Emperor Hung died to the worms of the void. Emperor of Heaven Reverse, the owner of the ancient book, died to the worms of the void as well. Chapter 1574. The famous worms of the void must be powerful and horrifying. Both Emperor Hung and the owner of the ancient book died in the hands of the worms of the void. Out of instinct, Luli was scared. He had gone through so much to get to the purgatory of primordial chaos from the void. He was so close to success. However, the heavens had played a joke on him. He had thought that he was blessed by the heavens and that his luck was amazing. Now, he was proven wrong. It was said that Emperor Hung was a mighty warrior in the divinity. If even Emperor Hung could not survive the worms of the void, how could Luli survive? Buzzing, Luli mobilized divine energy. He tried to force the worms of the void out of his body. Everything would be fine as long as they were out. However, if the worms of the void could be forced out so easily, Emperor Hung would not have died. Luli used divine energy to check. The worms of the void were not affected at all. The worms of the void could turn into shadows, which was why they could sneak into Luli's body silently through the armor of thunder. Nothing happened to the worms of the void. Luli made up his mind. He took out the dagger and hid the armor of thunder. Then he stabbed at his thigh. He wanted to dig out a worm of the void. Whoosh! However, as soon as the dagger stabbed into his thigh, the worm of the void sneaked away. The other worms of the void began to wander around, taking bites here and there. The worms of the void were small, but there were many of them. There must be over 100. Luli shook his head and gave up the idea. He could chop off his arms and thighs one by one. Worms of the void were already in his head. Unless he cut off his head as well. Blood fairy. There was nothing Luli could do with the worms of the void hiding in his body. He could not kill them with divine energy. He had to count on Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy was a spiritual being. She could enter Luli's body easily. Maybe she could find a way to deal with the worms of the void. Blood Fairy reached into Luli's body with her tentacles. A moment later, she said, "Master, I am sorry. I cannot deal with those worms. They can take physical forms. They are not spiritual beings. There is nothing I can do to kill them." What? Blood Fairy was useless, and Fong Ao and the other spirits were useless. Fong Ao and Fong Ho were spirits, so they couldn't deal with the void worm. Luli did not give up. He sent a message to Ao. Ao came out from the mountain and sneaked into Luli's body. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he returned to the mountain and sent a message to Luli. If the dragon soul can help, there might be a glimmer of hope. Luli focused his mind on the dragon soul, hoping that it could help. However, the dragon soul was not under Luli's control. It would only automatically protect its master when Luli's soul was under attack. At other times, Luli could not summon it no matter how hard he tried. After a while, Luli gave up. He thought a method that wasn't really a method, and that was to use his divine power to envelop these insects and suppress them slightly. Moreover, these worms stopped chewing for a while, as if they needed to digest. Luli felt relieved after a while. If it was only at this rate, he could stand it. The flesh, blood, and bone marrow that he had devoured could be regrown using heavenly materials and earthly treasures. All he had to do was suffer a little. It's definitely not that simple. Luli remembered that Emperor Hung died not long after he returned to the 9 universes. If the Void Worm only had this much ability, then Emperor Hung definitely wouldn't die. The Void Worm probably had other tricks up its sleeve. What? After the time for several incense sticks to burn, Luli noticed something was wrong. The Void Worm was splitting into 2. At first, there were only over 100. Now, there were over 200. No wonder not even Emperor Hung could stop it. Luli's face was getting paler. He made up his mind and flew toward the pillar of light in the distance. For now, he would leave the Void Worm alone. It wouldn't kill him anytime soon. He must go to the purgatory of primordial chaos to defeat or kill Luo Yi and then find a way to kill the Void Worm. Luli flew toward the pillar of light. When he was close enough, he noticed that outside the pillar of light was a white airstream that looked like clouds. No wonder it was glowing. The white airstream was wriggling and seemed to be inseparable. Luli tried to reach it with his hand. The white airstream looked like airstream, but there was an invisible force that stopped Luli's hand from reaching in. Move! Luli flew along the white airstream, looking for a weak spot in space. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he found one. The white airstream was thinner here. Occasionally, there would be a crack. Too small. I can't go in. Luli gave up after a moment of observation. He wandered around. A moment later, he stopped. It was not that he had found a weak spot in space. It was that the void worms were gnawing at his body again. The void worm wouldn't eat too much because the void worm was too small. The void worm's bite felt like an ant's bite. That being said, when more than 200 void worms were gnawing at him at the same time, Luli was sweating and trembling from the pain. Phew, the void worm stopped after the time for dozens of breaths. Luli took some elixirs. After the time for several incense sticks to burn, he noticed that the void worms were splitting up again. There were only about 500 move. Luli made up his mind and flew on. He must make haste. Otherwise, when the void worms were divided into dozens or millions, they would devour his body in an instant. By then, he wouldn't even have time to heal himself. He quickly flew into the distance, and after an hour, he finally found a place. Every now and then, there would be a huge crack. Though it would close up soon, if Luli was fast enough, there was a good chance he could go in. Moo! A moment later, Luli dashed in like a sharp sword. After a flash of white light, Luli realized he could not sense anything. He did not care anymore. He made up his mind and pressed on. After a while, he felt his vision dimmed and he fell to the ground. What? Luli used psychic power to check the surroundings at once. Then he was overjoyed. He found this place familiar. It seemed to be the prison of darkness in the purgatory of primordial chaos. Fire, wood, earth, water, gold, ice, wind, darkness, soul, and thunder. This was the 10th level of the purgatory of primordial chaos. The prison of darkness was the 8th level. As long as he could go down the prison of darkness and reach the prison of gold, he would be able to enter the Earth Imperial Universe. Moo! Luli flew up and dashed into the distance like a bolt of lightning. Given his speed as a super mighty warrior in the divinity, the prison of darkness was too small for him. He could not wait to go to the entrance of the prison of darkness to confirm that this was the prison of darkness he was familiar with. The prison of darkness was dangerous. For average warriors, this place was horrifying. But for Luli, it was not enough. This is it. When Luli arrived at the entrance and dashed down from the prison of darkness to the prison of wind, he was trembling. There was a mountain at the entrance of the prison of wind, the one he remembered. Finally, he had come back from the divinity. Unfortunately, this time he did not come back in glory. Otherwise, he could have shouted that Huan-san, was back. He came back to save people. He had hundreds of void worms with him. Maybe, like Emperor Hung, he was lucky to come back. But he might die soon. Never mind. Let's go to the prison of gold first. Luli shook his head. This was not the time to think about these things. Everything was uncertain. He must go to the prison of gold as soon as possible to see if Luo Yi and the others were still there. To see if his family and friend were still alive. Search engine keywords. Chapter 1575. Luli's families were still alive, and so were the 4 major families of the Heaven Reverse Universe. They were all in the relic. The relic was not breached because the allied forces of the 8 universes were still attacking the Earth Imperial Universe. They had not reached the relic yet. Luli had been in the black hole for over 70 years, but only a few days had passed in the outside world. Later, the mysterious man helped him by letting him enter the turbulence of time. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the purgatory of primordial chaos in the 9 universes. All in all, Luli had spent less than 10 days. 10 days was enough for Luo Yi to control all the powerful warriors in the 6 universes and the purgatory of primordial chaos. Blazing Hua used to be Patriarch of Law Enforcement's sole slave, but he was controlled by Patriarch Luo Yi's subordinate. The means of the Divine World Supremes and Divine World Super Almighties were too strong, especially people like Luo Yi and the other 2. They had lived for who knew how many years, and the means at their disposal were just too many. For them, mortals were puny. They could tell the puny mortals to go where they wanted them to go. They didn't even have to use one hand to kill the puny mortals. One finger could do it. Luo Yi controlled some powerful warriors and asked them to lure more people to the prison of gold. Then, he controlled them one by one. In a couple of days, Luo Yi had basically controlled the warriors of the 8 universes apart from the Earth Imperial Universe. Then, armies were mobilized. Luo Yi had people build teleportation formations to the entrance of the Earth Imperial Universe. Tens of thousands of people could be teleported at one time. For immortals, building teleportation formations was a piece of cake. This was the mortal world where everything was simple. The passageway connecting the Earth Imperial Universe to the Prison of Gold was sealed. But Patriarch Luo Yi's subordinate, cracked it in an instant. Then, armies poured in. According to Luo Yi's order, the Earth Imperial Universe was to be wiped out. Lu Li's family and friends were captured, and those that could not be captured were killed. All the powerful warriors of the 8 universes gathered. There were over 20 semi-god realm warriors, hundreds of Earth Immortal Realm warriors, and countless human Sovereign Realm, Earth Immortal Realm, and Noble Lord Realm warriors. In total, there were over 300,000 warriors. Blazing Hua, Chun Tianxian, and the others were also given divine artifacts. They were not given high-level divine artifacts, only upper divine artifacts. From Luo Yi's point of view, the Divine City was just a low-grade divine artifact. However, it was a low-grade divine artifact, after all. A few soul formation cultivators and a few superior-grade divine artifacts could easily break it. With so many powerful warriors, they could sweep across the Earth Imperial Universe at will. As a matter of fact, the army swarmed into the Earth Imperial Universe and swept across. No force could stop them. All were suppressed and massacred. Wherever they passed, not even the fowls and dogs were spared. Cities were burned and destroyed, and treasures and resources were divided up. Luo Yi had thought that with such a powerful army and powerful warriors, it would be a piece of cake for the Lu family to take down all of Lu Li's family members. It wouldn't be long before he received news of victory. He had miscalculated one thing: the marching speed of the army. The army's speed was quite fast at first, but they quickly dispersed because they found that it was easy to get rich from looting a realm. However, Luo Yi didn't specify how long it would take to capture Lu Li's people or how long it would take to breach the Relic City. Hence, the powerhouses who had become the sole slaves of the Elders of the Darkness Shrine did not restrain the army. As far as they were concerned, breaching the Relic City was only a matter of time. Half a month later or half a month earlier did not matter. What was more, the marching speed was slow. It would take time for the army to move at full speed. Once the army dispersed, it would be troublesome to regroup. Luo Yi and the others were all in the Prison of Gold and had no idea what was going on inside. For Luo Yi and the others, half a month was just a blink of an eye. They didn't think it was a big deal. This gave Lu Li a lot of precious time. When Lu Li arrived at the Prison of Gold, he rushed toward the Earth Imperial Universe at full speed. Along the way, he found some scouts sent by the major families. Through the scouts, Lu Li learned about the Earth Imperial Universe. He was overjoyed. The Earth Imperial Universe had not fallen yet, and the Relic City might still be standing. When he learned that the army had been in the Earth Imperial Universe for some time, and that Luo Yi and the others were at an entrance, Lu Li made up his mind after the time for 10 breaths. He decided to go to the Earth Imperial Universe first instead of Luo Yi and the others. Killing Luo Yi would come later. The priority was to protect the Relic City and all the people. There was more than one entrance to the Earth Imperial Universe. There were 3. For the sake of safety, Lu Li put the scouts into the Wicked Bead in case they would leak information. According to his memory, Lu Li went to a secluded entrance to the Earth Imperial Universe and went into stealth mode. There were still some scouts in the Prison of Gold, but Lu Li could not be seen when he was invisible. Not even the beasts of primordial chaos in the Prison of Gold could sense him. Lu Li flew as if he was on the ground. The Prison of Gold was large for the old Lu Li, but it was small for him now. In a couple of hours, he found the hidden entrance. Is it sealed? Lu Li checked and found that the entrance was sealed. He smiled. Without Blood Fairy's help, he cracked the seal with one move. Let's go. Lu Li slowed down. He was about to become a super mighty warrior in the divinity. His might was strong. Theoretically, it was not a problem to go in. But what if the universe collapsed? At that time, everyone inside would die. Lu Li slowed down to the slowest and kept an eye on the surroundings. If anything went wrong, he would come out at once. He entered the tunnel. There was a flash of white light. Everything was normal. He did not feel any discomfort. Okay. Lu Li opened his eyes. He was delighted to find that he had arrived at the Earth Imperial Universe. He moved his body and felt no discomfort. He could not afford to be careless. A ray of divine energy glowed in his hand as he smashed at the mountain in front of him. Boom! The mountain exploded in the middle, and the surrounding space shattered into pieces. It looked like the entire space had collapsed. Lu Li sensed it, and his expression became solemn. The mortal world was small, and the space was unstable. He could not believe that a random divine energy attack could cause such a disturbance in the space. I cannot use an attack that is too strong. Lu Li thought about it, but then he remembered that all the warriors in the Earth Imperial Universe were mortals. Given his abilities, he did not even have to use weapons to kill mortals. He could crush them with one finger. Move! Lu Li was confident. He checked the direction and sped up to the top of his speed. He dashed on in a blur. In the time for one breath, he was already 3,000 miles away. He was as fast as lightning. What is that? There happened to be a team of warriors in a mountain 3,000 miles away. Lu Li did not hide himself. They only saw a ray of white light, and then Lu Li had vanished into the distance. They did not even see what it was, not to mention Lu Li's face. In the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Lu Li did not know how far he had traveled. All of a sudden, he stopped. He did not arrive at the city. He noticed that there was a war going on ahead. To be exact, the army was massacring the city. There was a city up ahead. The city had been dyed red with blood. Over 10,000 warriors were looting and burning in the city. Many had died. The scene was too horrible to look at. Courting death. Chapter 1576. The situation in the city was tragic. To put it more precisely, it was bloody. There should be millions of civilians in the city. At the moment, there were more than 1 million dead bodies in and out of the city. The rest of the people were still being massacred, and many beautiful women were being raped. Blood, dead bodies, women's screams, and children's cries formed a cruel scene. Lu Li's roar froze the scene. Lu Li's name was so resounding that it was like thunder in everyone's ears. It had not been long since Lu Li went to the divinity. This time, he was invading the Earth Imperial Universe, the territory of Lu Li's family. Therefore, for the invading army, Lu Li's name was like a slap in the face. For the people of the Earth Imperial Universe, Lu Li was their god. He was their god. Over the years, the Lu family had been worshipping Lu Li like a god. The only god that the civilians of the Earth Imperial Universe worshipped was Lu Li. Statues of Lu Li could be found in every city. Just now, many people were praying to Lu Li when they were being slaughtered. It was a pity that Lu Li did not cultivate the energy of faith, so he could not feel it. Lu Li, countless people raised their heads and saw a man covered in armor from head to toe. Since Lu Li was wearing a helmet that covered his face, many could not believe their eyes. That being said, Lu Li was so strong that it was frightening. Buzzing, Lu Li put away the cloaking armor, revealing his cyan robe and his signature white hair. Out of instinct, many people turned to the statue in the city when they saw Lu Li's face. "It is Emperor Lu Li," someone shouted. Lu Li had ascended to the divinity for many years. Yet, his appearance did not change much. He looked the same as when he ascended, just like the statue. "It is the Emperor. The Emperor has shown himself. The Emperor did not abandon us. Great Emperor, please help your people and kill all these demons. Emperor, you must avenge us." Many people shouted. Then many dropped to their knees. Many were on the verge of death. Even so, they crawled up and kowtowed to Lu Li. Tears welled up in their eyes. At this critical moment, Lu had heard their prayers. He had come. It meant that praying to the immortal Lu was useful. Lu. The tens of thousands of warriors were stunned. Wasn't Lu in the divinity? How could he be in the Earth Imperial universe? Didn't their leaders promise that Lu wouldn't show up? Invading troops. Get out of the city and gather outside. Lu shouted with strong, killing intent. Divine might spread out from him. Nobody dared to go against his will. The soldiers inside looked at each other, not knowing what to do. In the end, they all cast their divine wills on their commander, an old man in the divine transformation realm. That old warrior had been cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos for many years. He did not know much about Lu. He was Luo Ye's sole slave, so he was not afraid of Lu. He made up his mind, cupped his fists, and said, "Lord Lu, right? I've long heard about your matter, and we're just following orders. I hope you can forgive us." Xiao. Lu released a ray of Xian energy, which shot out like a sharp sword. The semi-god realm warrior was hit before he could react. Boom! Something that shocked countless people happened. The soul formation realm old man, who was like a god to them, was casually hit by a ray of light from Lu. Then, his body exploded and turned into minced meat that filled the sky. Get out of the city and gather outside the eastern side of the city, Lu shouted again. This time, many people dare not to fight back. They all flew out of the city. In the time for one incense stick to burn, they were all out of the city. In total, over 10,000 warriors knelt on the ground. They knew that they were in trouble. The Earth Imperial Universe belonged to Lu's family. They came in and slaughtered at will. Lu happened to be back. How could he let this go? Now, it was up to Lu to start a killing spree. Emperor Lu, an Earth Immortal Realm warrior, shouted, "We were forced to do this. 3 immortals came from the divinity, and they have taken control of our emperor. We had no choice but to do so under the orders of our emperor." No choice? Making sure that there were no invading warriors in the city, Lu turned around and said with a cold grin, "You cannot disobey orders. You cannot stop burning, killing, and looting, right? You have no choice but to kill the children, the elderly, and the women. You have no choice but to humiliate the women, right? You are a bunch of animals. Since you have done what animals do, then go to hell. Be animals in your next life." Buzzing, Lu waved his hand. Then, instead of using Space Twist, he took out the Demon Slayer and hacked at the enemies. Swish, a ray of sword light with a length of over 1,000 feet whooshed on. It was as if the ray of sword light was cutting through straws. All the warriors touched by the ray of sword light were cut in half or exploded into a mist of blood. Hiss, hiss, some warriors flew up to the city wall to take a look. They saw that Lu had killed thousands in one move, including some human sovereign realm warriors and an Earth Immortal Realm warrior. Everyone was taken aback. Was this the power of an immortal? Also, Lu did not seem to use much strength. It was just a casual move. Whoosh, whoosh, Lu swung his sword again. His eyes were as cold as steel. Seeing the miserable state in the city, he was enraged to the extreme. He had made up his mind that he would kill all the invaders, leaving no one alive. Bang, bang, bang. After the third move, there was no one alive outside the city. Lu turned to the warriors in the city, the warriors on the city wall with blood on their faces and bodies. He said in a deep voice, "I am sorry, guys. I did not do a good job. You have suffered such a great loss. Go and heal the wounded. I will go and save the others. Don't worry. None of the invaders of the Earth Imperial Universe will survive." Plop, plop. On the city wall, many people dropped to their knees. Their faces were filled with sincerity and zeal. Following one person's lead, they all shouted, "Thank you, Your Majesty. May you live as long as the heavens." They did not know how to express their gratitude and admiration to Lu. They kept kowtowing until the floor cracked. They did not know that it was Lu who brought this disaster. They were just grateful that Lu showed up at the most critical moment, helped them avert the disaster, and avenge them. Phew, phew, Lu looked at the people who were full of zeal and admiration. He did not know what to feel. Those were average civilians. They were not ambitious. All they wanted was to live a peaceful life. Now a disaster had come out of nowhere and disrupted their peaceful lives. Many had died, and many had to endure humiliation that they would never forget. All of this was because of Luli, yet they were so grateful to him. Alas, Luli heaved a sigh. He was enraged. Though the civilians of the Earth Imperial Universe were not his family, they were no different from his family to him because they all believed in him. Back when he wiped out the Dark Shrine, he did not kill women and children. Luo Yi had crossed the line. Luo Yi, I will kill you. Luli bellowed. In a blur, he vanished into the distance. Chapter 1577. What? At the entrance to the prison of gold and the Earth Imperial Universe, Luo Yi was cultivating in a small mountain. Patriarch Lu flew up and reported, Grandmaster, 4 of my soul slaves are dead. For dead? Luo Yi was surprised. All of Patriarch Lu's soul slaves were at the semi-god realm. There were 28 semi-god realm warriors in the Earth Imperial Universe. It was said that the Lu family only had several semi-god realm warriors. The most powerful one was Lu Renwang. Even though by Qiushua, Jiang Qiling, Prajna, and the others were at the semi-god realm, their abilities were limited. At the very least, by Qiushua, Prajna, and the others were strong. The Lu family had more semi-god realm warriors than the Lu family. How come 4 semi-god realm warriors were dead? Patriarch Lu paused for a moment. His face was clouded again. He forced a smile and said, 2 more semi-god realm warriors are dead. This is strange. Did someone from the Lu Li family become an immortal? Otherwise, how could so many have died? Luo Yi raised his eyebrows. He stood up and paced back and forth on the peak. After a while, he said, Send an avatar into a warrior's body and control the warrior to go to the Earth Imperial Universe to find out the specific situation. Okay. Patriarch Lu left at once and found a human sovereign realm warrior. He used a secret skill to send an avatar into the warrior's soul and control him to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. They could not go to the Earth Imperial Universe. That being said, sending an avatar into a warrior's soul was not a problem. Patriarch Lu just went in to check and did nothing else. Patriarch Lu's expressions changed when he noticed that another semi-god realm warrior had lost spiritual connection with him. Patriarch Lu had a spiritual connection with the soul slave. Once the connection was lost, it meant that the soul slave had died. What is going on? According to the information, Lu Renhuang is not that powerful. He should be about the same level as Blazing Hua, maybe weaker. How can he kill so many semi-god realm warriors so easily? Boom, boom, boom. In a city in the middle of the Earth Imperial Universe, a glaring light came out. Then, many warriors were slaughtered as if they were straws. Lu Li's eyes were bloodshot. He had killed 5 groups, more than 100,000 warriors in total. He had already scouted it out. This time, there were more than 300,000 soldiers, and they were divided into 10. 4 of the armies went directly to the Divine City, while the other 6 spread out to carry out Luo Ye's order, to leave the Earth Imperial Universe barren and no one alive. Blazing Hua, Chun Tianxian, and the others had gone to the Divine City. They had slaughtered their way through the city. They should be arriving at the Divine City soon. Moreover, many of them had high-grade divine artifacts on them. Luli was worried about the city, but he didn't hurry over. He believed that the city could hold on for some time. He needed to annihilate the other 6 armies. Otherwise, these 6 armies would cause the deaths of millions of warriors and civilians. After slaughtering the warriors here, Luli flew away quickly without saying anything to the warriors here. For every breath of time he delayed, it was very likely that thousands of people would die. He flew eastward at top speed. He knew that there was another army in the east, attacking a large city there. An hour later, Luli arrived at the city. He used psychic power to check. His expression was awful. The entire city had been reduced to ruins. A conservative estimate was that 3 million people had died in the city. Not a single person survived. This army had carried out Luo Ye's order perfectly. Everywhere they went, not even a single living being was spared. Ah! Luli bellowed in rage. His voice was so loud that space was trembling. He used psychic power to check, and then flew toward the north. In the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli had caught up with an army. This army was resting in a valley. Luli could hear the cries of many girls. Some beautiful girls had been abducted, and many warriors were committing sexual acts in the valley. Go to hell. Luli didn't want to waste any more time. He bellowed, exerted force in heaven and earth, and dashed away. He dashed into some tents and tore the warriors apart with his bare hands. Then he put the girls into the wicked beat one by one. When all the girls were saved, Luli flew up. Killing intent surged out from him. He began to gather divine energy in one hand. A huge handprint appeared in the air. Lord Lu, I am Huoyu. From down below came a shout of surprise. That person had used all of his strength to shout. Luli's control over space had weakened when he went to save the girls. Otherwise, that person would not have been able to shout. Luli threw a glance down. His control over space weakened. That person dropped to his knees at once and said in fear, Lord Lu, I am for the Hua family. Blazing Hua is my grandfather. Your grandfather? Luli put on a mocking grin. Then you deserve to die. Blazing Hua knows my temper, and yet you still dare to commit such acts. All of you deserve to die. Swish, swish. Luli generated a hand with a length of more than 2 miles and smashed down. As soon as the hand appeared, the entire space trembled. The shockwave spread far and wide, affecting an area with a radius of at least 300,000 miles. Boom! The ground trembled. Dust rose up. The entire valley disappeared, and so did the mountains nearby. Amidst the dust, there was a bottomless pit. The 20,000 warriors were smashed into the ground and turned into dust. Not even their bodies were left behind. Boom, 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 a chain reaction was triggered on the ground. Such a powerful attack had triggered a backlash from the laws of nature in this universe. At that moment, the entire universe seemed to be trembling. Civilians in the nearby cities felt the world was falling apart. They ran out of their homes in fear and dropped to their knees, worshipping Lu Li's statue. What? At the same time, the 100,000 warriors and some powerful warriors gathered outside the relic were taken aback. They all sensed something was not right. They sensed the shaking of the ground, the abnormality in space, and the movement of the energy in heaven and earth. They all turned to where Lu Li was. They had a bad feeling. Attack! Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian looked at each other and gave the order to attack. There was no time to lose. They must break into the relic as soon as possible and capture Lu Li's family. It would be safer for them to leave the Earth Imperial Universe and go to Luo Ye's place. Something is wrong with the fluctuation in heaven and earth. In the Divine City, Lu Ren Huang and Patriarch of Law Enforcement looked at each other. Both of them looked solemn. They did not know what was going on. But to them, the abnormal fluctuation in space in the Earth Imperial Universe did not bode well. Oh no! At the same time, at the entrance to the prison of gold and the Earth Imperial Universe, Patriarch Lu opened his eyes. He flew up to Luo Yi and reported, Grandmaster, I just sensed a strong fluctuation in space through my avatar. Mortals cannot create such a disturbance in space. Either someone in the Lu family has become an immortal, or Lu Li is back. Lu Li is back. A glint of coldness rose in Lu Li's eyes. He grinned and said, If only Lu Li is back. I will make sure he dies without a burial place. Chapter 1578. There were over 100,000 warriors gathered in the relic, including many powerful ones. Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian did not want to kill civilians and low-level warriors. Therefore, they led the army directly to the relic. Of course, they killed all the warriors and cities they encountered along the way. They could not disobey Luo Ye's orders. Soul slaves would follow their master's orders without question. Patriarch Lu's order was to kill everyone on sight. At Blazing Hua's order, the 100,000 warriors began to launch long-range attacks at the relic. Below the relic, there was a city named by Lu Li himself, the City of Great Land. Fortunately, Patriarch of Law Enforcement knew that a fight was inevitable. Therefore, he had moved the warriors away. Most of them were from the 4 major families, and some from the Heaven Reverse universe. Patriarch of Law Enforcement moved them into the mysterious realm. Boom, boom, boom. The 100,000 warriors attacked together. The relic gave out a dark glow. However, nothing happened, not to mention that the relic was smashed away. Impressive, Blazing Hua and the others exclaimed. The relic had been absorbing energy for so many years. If they did not have relics, it would be impossible to break the relic. Now, that so many semi-god realm warriors had high-quality relics, it should not be a problem to break the relic. After all, the high-quality relics were powerful. Attack! Blazing was shouted. All the semi-god realm warriors sprang into action. They came to the relic and hacked at the relic with their relic weapons. Buzzing! The relic gave out a dark glow. This time, the relic was shaking violently. The force moved the relic for more than 1,000 feet. Everyone in the relic could feel the tremor. Oh no! Lu Renhuang was taken aback. Just now, the relic lost 1/20th of its energy. In other words, after 20 strikes, the relic would explode. How is this possible? Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Zhanyang could not believe it. They did not see any strange warriors outside. They were just warriors from the other 8 universes. How could they lose so much energy in one strike? Their weapons. Lu Renhuang used psychic power to check and noticed something was wrong. At first, those warriors did not take out their weapons. But now, Lu Renhuang noticed that their weapons were powerful. Divine artifact, this is troublesome. The law enforcement elder also sensed it. A metal rod appeared in his hand as he shouted to the people behind him. Everyone, get ready. Once the divine city is breached, we will fight to the death. No one can become a captive. If you're captured, explode yourself, or you will get Lu Li into trouble. Do you understand? If we die, Lu Li will avenge us. Fight to the death. The tens of thousands of people standing in the Divine City Plaza all roared, their eyes filled with the determination to die. Though they were all from the Heaven Reverse universe, they had developed some pride after staying in the Earth Imperial universe for so many years. The Lu clan was the #1 clan in the 9 realms. How could they surrender? Boom! The Divine City shook violently once again. Many of the buildings inside collapsed, and the Divine City felt as if it had been sent flying. Lu Renhuang tried again and found that the energy had decreased by 1/20th. The relic armor appeared over Lu Renhuang's body, and the relic weapon in his hand glowed. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes as he said, "Later, I will rush out first. You guys follow me. Do not attack from afar. Go straight into the enemies and kill as many as you can." Yes, the tens of thousands of people yelled in unison. Half of them were disciples of the Lu family or warriors recruited by the Lu family. There were 2 semi-god realm warriors as well, but they were not the best. Boom! The Divine City was attacked again and again. The atmosphere in the city was heavy. Patriarch of Law Enforcement took a look around the city and was relieved. Jiang Qiling, by Qiu Shue, by Xiaoshuang, Prajna, and the young elites had all been sent away. The Lu family was not completely destroyed. Patriarch of Law Enforcement could answer to Lu Li. His death was worth it. Boom! After the Divine City was attacked for 19 times, Lu Renhuang shot out a ray of Xian energy. The city gate was opened. Patriarch of Law Enforcement shouted, "Charge, whoosh!" Lu Renhuang was the first to dash out. While flying, he waved his weapon. Ice elements were attracted to him. He swung his saber and shouted, "Ice in heaven and earth!" When the saber slashed out, no saber light appeared. Instead, the surrounding space turned into a thick layer of ice. The 4 semi-god realm warriors and the Earth Immortal realm warriors outside the gate were all frozen. Slaying God with ice sword, Lu Renhuang wielded his relic weapon. The ice in the sky turned into swords of ice and shot out. The four semi-god realm warriors and the earth immortal realm warriors became target practice. They were hit by the swords of ice. Bang, bang, bang. None of the earth immortal realm warriors could stand it. After a moment, their bodies were riddled with holes. 3 of the 4 semi-god realm warriors were stabbed to death, and 1 was smashed away. The power of the ice fiend is impressive. The warriors on the ground were shocked. It was said that Lu Renhuang had reached the peak of the semi-god realm many years ago. He was only half a step away from ascending to the immortal realm. There was also a rumor that he could have ascended to the immortal realm. But because the Lu family did not have a powerful warrior, the immortal realm warrior had been delayed. In 2 moves, Lu Renhuang had killed 3 semi-god realm warriors and 1 at the peak of the semi-god realm. The power of the ice fiend was not just a rumor. Lu Renhuang, I am sorry. We are just following orders. Blazing Hua and Chan Tianxian looked at each other and then dashed toward Lu Renhuang from the left and right. Blazing Hua was covered in flames. The flames turned into lotus lanterns, floating in the air and moving toward Lu Renhuang like ghosts. Hoi! Lu Renhuang dashed forward fearlessly. Patriarch of Law Enforcement led a group of warriors down the city and pierced into the army on the ground like a sharp sword. Soon, the 2 sides began to fight at close quarters. In an instant, there were many casualties. Bang! Lu Renhuang, Blazing Hua, and Chun Tianxian exchanged a few moves. Suddenly, Lu Renhuang was smashed away, and one of his hands was cut off. This relic, Lu Renhuang was shocked. His relic weapon and Blazing Hua's relic weapon clashed against each other, and Blazing Hua's relic weapon was cut off in 1 move. Lu Renhuang could not react in time, and his arm was cut off as well. He was defeated in a few moves. Lu Renhuang, accept your fate. Blazing Hua flew over and said with a sigh, this relic weapon is a top-grade one. The 3 lords out, they're all important figures in the divinity. I heard that they are overlords of a force in the divinity. Even Lu Li is a puny insect to them, let alone us. If you surrender now, we can spare your lives. Ha ha ha. Blood gushed out from Lu Renhuang's mouth. He laughed coldly. Surrender? I have never seen such a coward in the Lu family. Blazing Hua, you are helping the wicked. Karma will befall you. When my son comes back, the Hua family will be destroyed. Come back. Blazing Hua sneered. So many have ascended from the 9 universes. How many have come back? None. Only Emperor Hung. Is that so? Right at that moment, from the distance came a thunderous shout. Blazing Hua, Chun Tianxian, I Lu Li have been in the divinity for so many years. Have you forgotten what I did? Chapter 1579. It had been years since Lu Li went to the divinity. Even so, as soon as his voice was heard, those who were familiar with him could recognize it. As soon as Blazing Hua and Chan Tianxian heard the voice, they felt chills running down their spines, and fear crept into their hearts. Over the years, Blazing Hua and Chan Tianxian had this impression of Lu Li. Lu Li was like a mountain, suppressing them forever. They could not surpass or defeat Lu Li. If it was before, many people would only feel depressed, but the current situation was different. They were invading the Earth Imperial Universe and attacking Blazing Hua's father. They even cut off Lu Renhuang's hand. Lu Li had come back at this moment. How could they not be afraid? How could they not feel guilty? As far as Blazing Hua and the others were concerned, Lu Li would never come back. After all, not even Emperor of Heaven Reverse, Yin Tiangang, and the others could come back. Emperor Hung, the only one who did, died soon. Lu Renhuang was about to fly up from the ground and risk his life to fight against Blazing Hua and the others when he heard the voice. He trembled and turned to the south. In addition to Lu Renhuang, Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Zhengyang, Jiang Wuwa, and Mingyu all stopped fighting and looked to the south. Even the invading armies were afraid to move. They turned to the south. Whoosh, from the south came a glare. A man was growing larger and larger. In a blink, a white-haired young man appeared in the sky. Lu Renhuang, Lu Zhengyang, patriarch of law enforcement, and the others felt tears welling up in their eyes. When the Liu family was about to be wiped out, Lu Li came back again. He came back from the distant divinity. This was enough to make many people weep. It is Lu Li. Lu Li is back. Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian looked at each other. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with despair. They knew Lu Li's character very well. If you were on good terms with someone like Lu Li, he would treat you like a true friend. Once he was enraged, the consequences would be dire. Lu Li had crossed the line by invading the Earth Imperial Universe and slaughtering so many people. Everyone involved in this invasion would have to face their deaths. The Emperor is back. Young Master is back. Young Master will avenge us. Young Master, my brother is dead. You must help us kill these bastards. Mighty great Emperor, mighty great Emperor. The tens of thousands of warriors of the Liu family shouted in excitement. For many people, Lu Li was a god, the biggest reliance of the Liu family. When the Liu family and the Liu family were being bullied and slaughtered, Lu Li's appearance was like a miracle to them. Luckily, I made it back in time. Lu Li took a look. Only thousands of the Liu family had died. The important ones were still alive. Only some disciples of the immediate Liu family seemed to have died. Looking at Lu Renhuang's severed arm, Lu Li grinned. The smile sent chills down Blazing Hua and the other spines. It was a bloodthirsty smile. Great-grandpa, grandpa, father, please step back. I need a reason with Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian. Lu Li glanced over like lightning. Nobody dared to move under his pressure. Patriarch of law enforcement and the others gave the order to retreat at once. Some of the enemies wanted to take action, but none dared to do so when Lu Li threw them a cold glance. Alas, Chun Tianxian and Blazing Hua looked at each other. They flew down and dropped to one knee. Blazing Hua bowed and said, Lord, our souls are being controlled by force. We cannot fight back. We have done wrong. We do not want to explain or beg for mercy. All we want is death. We only hope that you can forgive our people. We forced them to invade the Earth Imperial Universe. Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian knelt down, and then the others. Lu Li did not release too much energy, nor did he kill anyone. Just because he was Lu Li, he could make everyone kneel. Lu Li said nothing. He stared at the hundreds of thousands of warriors on their knees. His silence made the atmosphere even more depressing. However, nobody dared to say anything. They waited for Lu Li's final decision and verdict. You are being controlled. Finally, Lu Li said. He did not sound angry, but extremely cold. You cannot disobey the orders of the powerful warriors in the divinity. Maybe you are not wrong, but are the innocent people of the Earth Imperial Universe wrong? So many cities were slaughtered. So many innocent people died. So many girls were raped. So many old people and children were killed. Are they wrong? If you're not dead, how can their souls rest in peace? You must all die, but I will not look into what happened next. What? Many people looked up in fear. Lu Li's words could not be questioned. None of those who invaded the Earth Imperial Universe could survive. Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian looked at each other. They felt bitter. That being said, they were comforted by the fact that Lu Li had shown mercy. He stated that he would not go to their universes and wipe out their families after he killed all the invading armies. Thank you, Lord. Blazing Hua and Chun Tianxian cowed out. Then, they slapped their own heads at the same time. They had chosen a dignified way to die. Otherwise, if Lu Li were to kill them, they would not be able to leave a whole body. Boom! The two men's heads shook, but they didn't shatter. Only their souls were shattered. The two of them collapsed to the ground. Their descendants screamed, but none of them fought back. They didn't even dare to look at Lu Li with hatred. Lu Li was a deterrent to them. None of you will survive. Lu Li said coldly, if you want a dignified way to die, then kill yourselves. If I take action, you will not be able to leave a whole body. Lu Li's words made the atmosphere even more depressing. Maybe many could face death and were prepared for it. However, at the moment of real death, many would be frightened out of instinct and would want to run away. Whoosh, several thousand people fled, all of them rising into the air, fleeing in all directions. However, as soon as they moved, an invisible force pressed down on them. None of them could move. Don't even think about running away. You cannot. I will give you the time for 10 breaths to kill yourselves, or I will end your lives for you. Lu Li's cold voice was heard. Once again, panic spread. Those who wanted to run lost all hope when they realized that they could not even move a finger. Lu Li stopped the force. Many warriors made up their minds and slapped their own heads. They fell to the ground one by one. With someone taking the lead, more followed suit and committed suicide. More than 70% of the hundreds of thousands of people committed suicide within 10 breaths of time. The scene was exceptionally spectacular. One by one, they hit their own Tianling acupoints and then all fell to the ground. Blood flowed out of their mouths, noses, ears, and eyes, dyeing the ground red. Whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 1580. The 300,000 invading warriors were all killed. They were almost the main force of the 8 universes. The 8 universes would not be able to recover for at least hundreds of years after Lu Li slaughtered the 300,000 warriors. The Earth Imperial Universe suffered a great loss as well. Hundreds of cities were destroyed. More than 100 million civilians and warriors were killed. Even though most of the casualties were civilians, the Earth Imperial Universe did not suffer great loss. That being said, Lu Li still felt guilty. Those were his people. It was because of him that so many had died. Lu Li did not worry about the rest after the massacre. He flew to the city. The divine city was not destroyed. At the last moment, Lu Xingyang, Patriarch of Law Enforcement, rushed out with his men. What? Lu Renhuang went into the city to tend to his wounds. He saw Lu Li standing in the castle with his back to the gate. Lu Li was trembling and cold sweat was running down the back of his neck. Lu Renhuang frowned and said, Lu Li, it is not all your fault. Don't blame yourself. Lu Li was not trembling because of self-blame, but because of the worms of the void. There were more than 2,000 worms of the void in his body now. Every time they ate, they would move together. Strong as Lu Li was, he could not suppress them completely. Fortunately, the worms of the void were small. They stopped after a while. Lu Li took a rest and took 2 pellets. He turned around and forced a smile. Father, where are Qiling, Qiushue, and Xiaoshuang? They have been sent to the mysterious realm. Lu Renhuang looked at Lu Li for a while. Seeing that Lu Li was fine, Lu Renhuang was not worried. Should I send them back? Lu Renhuang asked. Not yet. Lu Li waved his hand. Luo Yi and the others were outside. It would be pointless for Bai Qiushue and the others to come back without killing or defeating them. Also, the worms of the void in his body must be solved. Otherwise, the 3 of them would be able to tell when they came back. Buzzing, Lu Li took out some regular healing pellets and handed them to Lu Renhuang. Father, these are healing pellets from the divinity. They are gentle. You should tend to your wounds first. Lu Li had better healing pellets, but he could not give them to Lu Renhuang for fear that the latter might not be able to stand it. Lu Renhuang took over the pellets without wasting time. As soon as the pellets entered his body, he felt warm all over. His arms began to grow back. The divinity's pellets were amazing. Whoosh! A moment later, Patriarch of Law Enforcement came back with several relic weapons in his hands. They were all of high quality. Patriarch of Law Enforcement handed them to Lu Li and said, Lu Li, these are the relics we seized. They look advanced. Take them. Great-grandpa, just take them. Lu Li shook his head. These are just high-quality relics. They are nothing to me. I'll give you some transcendent-grade divine artifacts later. I have many good divine artifacts. Patriarch of Law Enforcement's eyes glowed. It seemed that Lu Li was doing well in the divinity. Patriarch of Law Enforcement asked, Lu Li, how did you come back? Moreover, you came back so quickly. If you were any later, the consequences would be unimaginable. I came back from traveling through space and time in the void. Lu Li gave a random explanation. Patriarch of Law Enforcement would not understand this anyway. After a while, Lu Li let Blood Fairy out and said, Blood Fairy, go and modify the relic city. Make it stronger. The city was only a low-level divine item. If Blood Fairy made some changes to the city's magic formation, its defensive power would increase significantly. Luli planned to leave the Prison of Gold as soon as possible. After he dealt with Luo Yi and the others, he would focus on dealing with the worms of the void. Otherwise, he would become the next Emperor Hung and die soon. Luli, there are 3 immortals outside the Prison of Gold. I heard that they are more powerful than Emperor of Heaven Reverse, Patriarch of Law Enforcement said worriedly. Luli smiled and said with confidence, I'm stronger than an emperor now. Don't worry, Great-Grandpa. I can handle it. Surpassed Great Emperor? Patriarch of Law Enforcement was shocked. How long had it been since Luli went to the divinity? It had been hundreds of thousands of years since Emperor of Heaven Reverse ascended to the immortal world. How could Luli be stronger than him? His great-grandson was indeed an extraordinary person. Perhaps he could bring them to the divine realm in this lifetime. A moment later, Lu Zhenyang, Jiang Hua, and Yi Luo came. They sighed when they saw Luli. Mingyu had already arranged for many people to go to the major cities to help the wounded and rescue the dying, as well as to hunt down the remaining invaders. However, there was no one left to save. Wherever the army passed, there was no one left alive. Take good care of them. Luli brought Lu Feixue to a side chamber and let out some girls that he put in the wicked bead. Those girls were violated. If it were not for Luli, they would have been tortured to death. Master, it is done. After the time for 4 incense sticks to burn, Blood Fairy said, the modification of the formations in the relic city is complete. The city's defense has been improved by at least 10 times. Only a mighty warrior from the divinity can crack it. Okay, Luli nodded. He was about to give some orders when Mingyu came in a hurry with a piece of news. A human sovereign realm warrior had sent a message on behalf of Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness, telling Luli to go to the Prison of Gold at once or else he would send a super mighty warrior to the Earth Imperial Universe. If the Earth Imperial Universe collapsed, everyone in the divine realm would die. Luli sneered. He was thinking about going to Luo Yi. How could Luo Yi be afraid that Luli would not go out? Luli waved his hand and said, tell that man to tell Luo Yi that I will go out in 10 days and let Luo Yi die. Mingyu left to make the arrangements. The others looked at Luli with worry. Jiang Hua asked, Luli, is the Hall of Darkness strong? How powerful is their Grand Master in the divinity? Looking at the worried faces, Luli explained, the Hall of Darkness is one of the 72 sects in the divinity. Their Grand Master is a supreme warrior in the divinity. There's a list in the divinity. Most powerful warriors are on the list. The top 100,000 warriors on the list are mighty warriors in the divinity, including Emperor of Heaven Reverse. The top 10,000 are super mighty warriors in the divinity, including Luo Ye's 2 followers. The top 100 are supreme warriors in the divinity, including Luo Yi. What? Everyone was taken aback. They knew the 3 immortals out there were powerful, but not this powerful. How powerful would the top 100 be in the divinity? Don't worry. Luli waved his hand. I have been hunted down by several supreme warriors in the divinity for a long time. One of the most powerful forces in the divinity, the Craftsman's sect, has been hunting me down for years. But they cannot kill me. That is why they resorted to such an unwise move and came to the Earth Imperial Universe. I have defeated supreme warriors in the divinity before. This time, it is not difficult for me to defeat Luo Yi. I think I still have a chance to kill him. Defeated supreme warriors in the divinity. They looked at each other, speechless. Luli would not lie. If so, then wouldn't Luli be among the top 100 in the divinity? Okay, don't overthink. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.